Cinnabon, yeah. So we've got a token for every highball, and yeah, you can trade those around. It's kind of like an IOU1 beer or an IOU1 whiskey soda. It's a
great summer drink.
Great summer beverage.
Yeah,
just delightful. Next up, we've got Monarch Wallet, which added SLP support.
Yeah. So, Monarch Wallet has added SLP support, allowing for users to trade tokens on both iOS and Android devices.
The Call to Freedom is coming up next, live after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for Liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. Online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow with your latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Gold is trading at $1,341, silver at $15, and Bitcoin is trading around $8,041. Today's prices are brought to you by InnoScale. Take off with Managed Cloud. Looking for a safe, secure way to store your important files online? Let InnoScale handle it for you. Their high-availability cloud servers are the perfect solution for clients needing one or more secure, scalable servers with built-in hardware failover protection. For details, see them online at innoscale.net. In the news, the Federal Government Accountability Office has issued an update to its 2016 report on the FBI's use of facial recognition. The takeaway, which they also shared during a Congressional House Oversight Committee hearing: the FBI now has access to 641 million photos, including driver's license and ID photos, but it still refuses to assess the accuracy of its systems. Activist Post reports that the FBI's Facial Analysis Comparison and Evaluation Services Unit not only has access to FBI's Next Generation Identification Face Recognition database of nearly 30 million civil and criminal mugshot photos, it also has access to the State Department's visa and passport databases. The FBI has done little in the last 3 years to make sure that its search results are accurate, according to the new report. The Liberty Beat is sponsored in part by Brave Botanicals. High-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven and believes so strongly in the power of kratom, they're giving it away for free. Just go to freeounceofkratom.com for a free ounce of kratom delivered to your door. Just pay shipping. That's freeounceofkratom.com. This is the latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Find us online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. Your news now continues. Metropolitan Police in London have arrested 4 teenagers involved in a reprehensible attack on 2 women who were left bloodied and hospitalized after being taunted for their sexuality. The Mind Unleashed reports the 4 males, aged 15 and 18, are being questioned on suspicion of robbery and aggravated grievous bodily harm or severe assault. That's according to a statement by the Met Police. Melanie Gaymanet, a 28-year-old Ryanair stewardess from Uruguay, shared a photo on Facebook of herself and her girlfriend Chris after they were assaulted by a group of men who began shouting at them and throwing coins. The couple had just gone on a date in Camden and were returning home early on May 30th when the 4 men began demanding they kiss each other in front of them. When the 2 refused to share an intimate moment for the entertainment of the hooligans, the young men and teens beat them, leaving them with serious facial injuries, before also stealing their belongings. Hate crimes on the mass transportation network of the UK have doubled over the past 5 years, according to British Transport Police data. In what would be the first case of its kind, a Louisiana woman allegedly died from a THC overdose after vaping a large amount of cannabis oil. The Mind Unleashed, citing the New Orleans Advocate, reports that the otherwise healthy 39-year-old collapsed and died in her LaPlace apartment in February due to high levels of THC, the main psychoactive compound in cannabis. That's according to St. John Baptist Parish Coroner Christy Montague. The woman had healthy organs and no symptoms of illness or elevated traces of alcohol and drugs in her body. While THC can cause heart palpitations and extreme anxiety in some users, the federally funded National Institute of Drug Abuse has said that no recorded deaths have been attributable to marijuana overdose. Various experts have also cast doubt on the coroner's claims, describing his conclusion as highly unlikely. A former senior policy advisor at the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy noted that if such overdoses were possible, the growing amounts of cannabis consumption in the U.S. would have likewise risen. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from the Conscious Resistance Network, featuring videos, news reports, and articles from a spiritual anarchist perspective. Experience the Conscious Resistance at theconsciousresistance.com. How would you like to have your business featured on the Liberty Beat? You can. Just send an email to libertybeat@snls.news for details. This is the Liberty Beat, produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. The Liberty Beat is online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the Liberty Beat, reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
U.S. presidents often take credit for solving complex issues with many moving parts, whether they deserve that credit or not. But how much impact can a sitting president really have on the tides? We all know that presidents like to take credit for the undulations of the briny deep, when it suits them, that is, and we Americans are quick to blame whoever is in power for the multitudinous seas. During Eisenhower's administration in the 1950s, citizens took to the streets to protest his inability to harness the unruly waves, but Ike shifted blame for the tides that year onto a heron that had recently been born with a raven's head. But the truth is, when a president is in office, there's only so much he can do. Sure, the president can bring an amulet with the Eye of Horus to the top of the tallest peak, or spread lamb's blood on the base of an elm tree during a lunar eclipse. In reality, it's hard for anyone to know with true certainty how the tides will play out under any administration. For The Onion, I'm Eliza Hayes.
This is the Onion News Network.
Welcome to the Call to Freedom. It is Monday, June the 10th, 2019, of course. I'm your host, as always, Ari DeMezzo, author of Dancing in Hellfire, which you can find on Amazon. I hear it's an interesting read. Of course, I think so, being the person who wrote it. Joined in the studio today by
Melanie.
And Michael Hampton from BitcoinHistory.com.
And I have an amazing story in front of me, just an absolutely amazing story, because it's amazing. Not in a good way.
There's nothing good about this.
No. Evidently, a veteran, I don't really care about his, how many brown people he's killed, has died in police custody. But when his body was returned to his family, some organs were missing. Now, that's odd, right?
That one's a little strange.
Yeah. So 2 days before he died, Everett Palmer Jr. called his brother Dwayne to tell him he was on his way from Delaware to New York to visit him and their sick mother. But first, he said he wanted to resolve an outstanding DUI warrant from an incident in 2016 in Pennsylvania to make sure his license was valid for the drive to see his family. The phone call was the last time the family would hear from the 41-year-old U.S. Army veteran and father of two, because on April the 9th, 2018, just 2 days later, the family was told that Palmer had died in police custody at the York County Prison. 14 months later, the Palmers say they still don't know what really happened, but they are suspicious because when Palmer's body was returned to them, his throat, heart, and brain were missing.
Wow.
Now, why was he in police custody would be a important question.
Well, I because it was a DUI, and that's not just like something you go and pay a ticket and you're done. They want to haul you into court.
That's right. He did have a warrant out. It may have been a bench warrant or something like that, but as soon as he showed up to address it, they would have arrested him.
Right. It's not something you just go and pay a ticket, It maybe it should be, or maybe it shouldn't even exist. But
so they had him in custody, and he died, and then he was returned to the family missing his heart, his throat, and his brain.
Now the heart and the brain, I don't know, but the throat missing, that's suspicious. That makes me wonder.
You don't find the brain and heart missing to be suspicious?
Why is one more suspicious than the other?
Because if the throat is missing, then maybe he was strangled and they're covering that up.
Well, that would also show in both the heart and the brain.
Good point. Good point.
I can't. Who did this? I mean, who sat around with a scalpel to remove this dude's vital organs?
Some doctor, I guess.
Did the coroner do that? Because it seems to me like there should be a paper trail of all of this.
Yeah, you'd think they know exactly where these organs are.
Of course, all cops are bastards, but last I checked, they don't generally have the legal authority to, cut out your throat, your heart, and your brain before sending your body on to your family.
Well, and they don't have the legal authority for a lot of things that they do, but they don't typically, as far as I know, engage in underground organ trafficking.
There was... Fair point. As far as I know, that's not what they're doing.
No, but if they murdered this guy, then making these 3 organs disappear, like you said, would certainly help cover that up.
Well, the family hired Merritt, a civil rights attorney, to help find answers because so far they've been unable to get them on their own. Merritt says prison and county officials have not been cooperative with providing an official manner of death. Well, yeah, because he was more than likely choked to death. I want to know how grisly this actually is to remove someone's throat. It seems like it would have just been more effective at that point to just chop his head off.
I mean, I guess it depends on. So the brain makes no sense. I mean, I say that as not a medical professional.
Well, it would show up as oxygen deprivation if he was choked to death.
Right, but I guess it depends on, were they covering up evidence or were they selling organs? You don't really...
Can you sell brains?
I don't know of any use for a brain, but a throat and a heart, yes. It depends on if they took it out before or after he died, I guess.
I would hope they took it out after he died.
Yeah.
I'm not...
I wouldn't put it past them. But...
I'm not convinced of anything at this point. The story is just really weird.
I have to believe they did not kill this guy by removing his heart, brain, and throat. I hope that is the case. But York County Coroner Pam Gay said that those organs were actually retained as part of the forensic autopsy for additional testing. There were never any missing organs, she told CNN on Saturday. The lab that does our autopsies has the organs. Coroner's offices don't always have a morgue or a forensic pathologist. We contract those services out. That's who retains the specimens. They don't always tell us what they retain, but we made that clear to the family from the beginning.
But there should still be records of that somewhere.
Well, it sounds like there are with the coroner and the lab that does the autopsy. She noted that removing the throat is typical in this kind of investigation because they have to make sure there wasn't any kind of component that caused asphyxia. She also said that local authorities have been cooperative. This kind of sounds like just a FUD piece, honestly. I mean, it sounds like it was mostly above the board and as though there is a paper trail. Certainly, it's weird, and I wouldn't want cops, removing my brain, heart, and throat before they return my body to my family. But for whatever reason they did it, it doesn't sound like they were actively trying to cover anything up. It sounds like it was mostly a matter of policy, although removal of the brain and the heart is curious. I'm not a forensic pathologist or whatever the words they use, so I don't know how critical the information that you get from those organs is. But I mean, if you have the body in front of you, it shouldn't be that difficult to determine cause of death.
No,
I mean, I guess it depends on how they killed him.
Good point.
If they killed him with like a brain injury and stabbed him in the throat, then maybe that would cover it.
Yeah, fair points. Representatives for the prison. Oh my God, the prison? They sent this dude to prison over a Dewey? An initial autopsy by the York County Coroner's Office stated Palmer died after an incident following an excited state during which he began hitting his head against the inside of his cell door. Yeah.
Yeah, he had hope with that, I'm sure.
Yeah, that sounds likely. Kind of like that chick who shot herself while handcuffed in the backseat of the police cruiser.
You sure this is above board?
No. The removal of the organs was. I certainly am not saying his death was above board. I mean, it obviously isn't. He's in police custody for 2 days and then he's dead. The report says that Palmer became agitated as a result of methamphetamine toxicity. a probable sickling red cell disorder is listed as a contributing factor. And all of this caused him to just bang his head against the inside of the cell door until he died. Yeah. I don't buy it.
Likely story.
There's police must collect, I don't know, magical items from like video games or something, because they have a lot of inanimate objects that act of their own accord.
According to his family, Palmer never had any health problems leading up to his death. They also said the autopsy report of him hitting himself is completely out of character. The York County Coroner's Office updated the autopsy results on July the 28th, 2018, to include a manner of death, which it listed as undetermined. The autopsy report says detail of the autopsy may be corrected as more information becomes available.
Yeah, people don't turn themselves in on a minor crime and then bang their head up against the wall until they die.
Yeah, they definitely don't. The coroner said that investigations into possible drug-related deaths can take 1 to 3 years, but she ruled out...
1 to 3 years?
Yeah, what the hell?
Well, they suck. But she ruled out one cause of death, saying it was not suicide. So...
Yeah, we figured that one out early on.
Would that include, banging his head against the cell until he died?
I mean, that would be a form of suicide. These walls are probably either metal or concrete.
But would they put that down as suicide or traumatic brain injury?
Good question.
I think they note that it's suicide if it's suicide. I don't know.
This is the Call to Freedom.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Did you know you can legally exit the U.S. federal income tax system? Well, it's true, and thousands of American nationals are doing it. The 16th Amendment and the Internal Revenue Code are legal, but only in a limited jurisdiction. This is the basis behind the voluntary nature of the income tax. Learn the exit strategy provided by Congress. Find out more by visiting weissparis.com and watch our numerous videos. That's WEISS Paris.com.
Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
As a police officer, I constantly live in fear that I might be filmed brutalizing a civilian. It's something you know from the time you're a cadet. The slightest civil rights infraction in front of anyone who's looking, and the next thing you know, you're surrounded by cameras and trending on Twitter. No cop should have to worry about that. Practically every precinct I know has somebody serving desk duty just for acting on deeply rooted prejudices when somebody had a recording device on them. It happened to my partner, and it even happened to our own captain. One day he's just kicking an unarmed pedestrian in the ribs when all of a sudden people with cameras are everywhere, and then they just start shooting what he was doing, all 6 minutes of it. I can't help but think sometimes that could have been me ending up at that desk job. You never know which day of total impunity will be your last, but for a cop, that's just our daily reality.
This is the Onion News Network.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. As always, you're invited to give us a call. That number is 603-283-6160. Again, that's 603-283-6160. Or you can use the Discord call-in lines, which you can find at discord.lrn.fm. Now, we've been talking about this guy who was arrested for a DUI, and he then died suddenly, evidently, after banging his own head on the cell door for some length of time. Well, it's all allegedly. That's why I rolled my eyes as I said it. And was ultimately returned to his family, missing his brain, heart, and throat. Now, his family admits that he did have some history of drug use, but never meth. Prison processing reports made available to the family provided no indication that Palmer was under the influence or had any drug paraphernalia listed in his items when he arrived. Now, I'm not an expert, but if you do meth, I don't think you do meth and then go to the police station over your DUI.
I wouldn't vouch for that. I can see somebody saying, I need to do some time, let me get high. That way I don't feel it as bad. I could see, but
I could see that.
You're also, I don't think you're going to get so high that you accidentally kill yourself on the door.
Not if you can make it to the police station, I would think.
Because you could at least walk in sober enough for them to be booked.
Yeah.
And to turn yourself in. So yeah, I can see somebody being like, well, hey, I got to be in jail for the next 3 days. Let me, because there's people who even go through the airport like that. They're like, well, I got to go through TSA. Let me get high first.
Interesting.
I can see that.
Well, according to the attorney that represents the family, he would have had to receive the meth in the jail itself, and we don't believe that happened. Well, I kind of do.
There is meth in the jail.
Yeah, there's meth in the jail.
Well,
I don't even know what jail this is. There's meth in the jail. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not even that. It's that cops have been busted repeatedly in the past drugging people who have been arrested. I think methamphetamine was one of the ones they used in Tennessee. Palmer's body was returned to his family, but only after the family hired their own independent forensic pathologist that they discovered Palmer's body was missing 3 body parts. Of course, it's not unusual to take organs out of a body during an autopsy, especially if you believe they were subject to trauma. The highly unusual part is to misplace them. Well, it doesn't sound like they were misplaced. Maybe they were. For 7 months, the family could not track down Palmer's brain, heart, or throat. They say they were told by the York County coroner to check with the funeral home for the body parts. And the funeral home says they hadn't touched the body. The family says they were later told by the coroner that the body parts were at an independent lab. However, the lab, Merritt says, has refused to hand them over, citing an ongoing investigation. Merritt says the family believes the body parts will reveal details of how Palmer died, but we haven't been able to get them yet. His constitutional rights are being violated. Well, I mean, they were violated when he was arrested.
Yeah.
CNN reached out to York County District Attorney's Office for comment, but the chief administrator and spokesman for the for the DA told CNN by phone the Office of District Attorney does not comment on pending or ongoing investigations. So their usual crap. Hardly surprising. When asked how long an investigation into a case like this usually takes, the DA assistant said every investigation is unique. He didn't answer when asked why, more than 1 year after Palmer's death, there is still no official determination about his cause of death. Multiple calls to the Pennsylvania State Police, listed as the investigating police agency, were not returned. A voicemail was also unanswered. So it's not surprising whatsoever. I mean, he's being characterized by his family as a gentle giant who joked around a lot. He was the life of the family because anytime you die, no matter what your family actually thinks about you, you're suddenly, oh, you're the life of the family. I'm just being real here. That's generally how it works. His family wants to know what happens, and they don't believe anything officials are telling them. I don't blame you. The state lies. That's what it does. If he was being processed for something that he did wrong in terms of the DUI, he should be held accountable for that. But it shouldn't be a death sentence, certainly inside of a jail. We know that there are good people in that prison system. No, there aren't. We appeal to them to come forward and share what they know. That may be an act of redemption, but it certainly wouldn't.
Yeah, so if there was good people who knew what happened, then this wouldn't be a secret. You wouldn't have to ask. It's not something
they would have immediately come forward.
Yeah, that's not something a good person sits down and goes, should I talk about this? I can't tell. Is this something I should disclose? As a good person, you don't wonder about that. You're like, they're taking people's brains out in the back room at the jail. I should definitely report that immediately.
Well, it might be something, if you're inside and you saw something, you might fear for your life, literally, if you talk about it.
Well, I mean, yeah, but if you're a cop, you can extricate yourself from, or a prison guard, you can extricate yourself from that environment and from those circumstances.
Well, the prison, I'm not worried about I'm not talking about the prison guards knowing something. They won't talk anyway because they're evil. I'm talking about the inmates.
Well, we're talking about the prison guards and this allegation that there are some good people inside that system.
Well, yeah, the system I think would imply the people who, the free people.
Yeah.
The prisoners don't have the ability to. I don't think they're doing weird illegal autopsies in front of other prisoners, but B, even if they are, the prisoners don't really have the ability to speak out about it because they're locked in a cage.
Yeah, and of course, as you were saying, the consequences are there that they'll be the next ones on the autopsy table having organs removed if they do speak out about it. So CNN asked whether a chokehold was applied to Palmer. Well, probably a chokehold by his throat while they banged his head against the cell door. But we expect for the York County and for the district attorney to do a thorough, complete investigation. I don't know why you expect that, which includes the autopsy, but it also includes gathering any reports about physical contact that was required in that cell and releasing the videos to the family. That was what I was wondering about, right? Because holding cells in particular, don't they always have cameras in them?
Yeah, generally they do, yeah.
I don't know. You would think they would, but I don't know.
I mean, if something is going to happen to you, it seems more likely it would happen in holding than once you get into the general population and there are other prison guards to be witnesses and things like that. So I would expect that in most jails, holding does have video, but of course we don't know and we'll probably never actually see it. But there's other cop BS to get into. Evidently, Philadelphia's first openly gay deputy sheriff was found dead at his desk in an apparent suicide.
Apparent suicide?
That's what they're saying.
Was it an election year?
I do not know. Is it an election year?
In Philadelphia? Who knows?
Philadelphia's first openly gay deputy sheriff committed suicide at his desk from an apparent gunshot wound on Friday, just before the city's week of Pride celebrations were set to begin. I've got to be honest, that doesn't sound at all like it's likely. Dante Austin, 27, was found dead at his desk. An official cause of death is awaiting confirmation from the local medical examiner's office. Now,
that'll take 1 to 3 years.
Yeah, and he was shot in the head, so I think the cause of death is probably pretty apparent. But hey,
it's an election year.
They have to do their official crap. Don't go anywhere. This is the Call to Freedom.
Would you like to hang out with Penn Jillette? He's keynoting Freedom Fest this year. I, for one, am thrilled. Freedom Fest is the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world. They take a Big Ten approach with libertarians, conservatives, liberals, anarchists, and just open-minded people mingling together to hear real debates, share real solutions, and converse freely. This year's theme is the Wild West, a time of liberty and opportunity, or a time of anarchy and violence. Maybe both. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and get your tickets now. freedomfest.com/FTL. Not convinced yet? Hey, I understand. It's a high-end event, even with coupon code FTLEB. Sure, you're likely to receive investment advice that'll make that sum seem paltry, but I have something special for you. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and you'll get the 5 best speeches from last year for free. Call it a test drive. Do yourself a favor and go to freedomfest.com/FTL. freedomfest.com/FTL. Use coupon code FTLEB for a discount.
Should you be able to earn an honest living free from senseless government interference? The Institute for Justice thinks so. That's why we've spent years defending hard-working men and women from pointless government regulations. Nationwide, IJ has created opportunity by reducing government power, but there is still more work to be done. Visit our website today at ij.org. Let IJ take care of the government so you can take care of your business.
This is a special alert for business owners, consultants, coaches, folks planning retirement, entrepreneurs, and anyone who is saving and investing to build a financial future. You are likely aware that financial privacy for most people has recently died a miserable death. And let's face it, without privacy, there really is no security, is there? Bankrupt governments and banks on the verge of collapse are perhaps the biggest threat to your financial future today. The Lighthouse Law Club recognizes this and has been working diligently to provide safe, secure, and productive tools to ensure your privacy, your financial security, and your future financial well-being, despite the catastrophes which many people fear are looming ahead of us. Find out more with a variety of free videos on the YouTube channel for Lighthouse Law Club. Just search YouTube for Lighthouse Law Club and secure your future today.
Did you know we've taken our LRN.FM telephone listen line to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line? Now you can call 712-770-8447 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed. And you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 712-770-8447 and choose from the menu. 712-770-8447.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you gotta keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom and the Rational Review News Digest, located at www.rationalreview.com, is the Freedom of Miss Daily News Digest, aggregating stories from all over the internet that are of interest to libertarians and to liberty-minded people. They include podcasts, videos, news articles, and more, and they're now a source for people to receive the Call to Freedom's podcasts. So be sure to check them out. Again, that's rationalreview.com. Now, we've been talking about various people dying in around cops. And evidently, 2 Army veterans, one of whom was a prisoner, the other of whom was a deputy, have killed themselves, in quotation marks. Austin, Dante Austin, that is a sheriff's deputy from Philadelphia who is gay and who is dead, having died by gunshot wound while sitting at his desk. He's being ruled a suicide. He was an Army veteran who also served as the department's first LGBTQ community liaison and was known as a fierce advocate. He was set to be promoted to the position of sergeant next month, according to CBS Philly. So, but none of this, I don't know. My impression of this would be that another cop killed him, and that it's not very likely that he killed himself. Sheriff Jewel Williams reflected on Austin's service. They did their little memorial thing and called his death a tragedy for the sheriff's office, for his family, and the local LGBTQ community. Dante was a person who believed in and cared about everybody. Then it goes on to just sort of honor the guy. I don't believe that the guy killed himself. I see no reason to believe that. It is freaking Pride Month, right?
Yeah.
Gay people don't generally kill themselves during Pride Month while they're actively out there as sheriff's deputies trying to make the world, quote unquote, safer from police, generally speaking, for LGBTQ people.
Now, there's nothing about this that I could find that makes any sense at all.
No. I mean, certainly he may have killed himself. Gay people and trans people do that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem likely that somebody who was that far into his career, that well known within the LGBT community, and that strong of an activist would kill himself during Pride Month. Not saying he didn't, but it doesn't seem likely that he did.
I mean, do people usually... He was found at his desk, right?
Right.
At his desk.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm not like enough in the mind of a suicidal person, but I would think that at work is not where you would want to die. No. I would have spent my last time at work. No, screw that.
You're correct. I would have expected him at minimum to go out to his car. That's at absolute minimum.
Yeah.
And far more likely to go home first. And
or somewhere that's not your job.
Yeah.
The one place, like, we have to pay you to be there. You hate it so much.
Very, very good point. Speaking of LGBTQ stuff, however, there was a Detroit Pride Parade over the weekend, and it was crashed by a white nationalist group who interrupted the event and urinated on an Israeli flag.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, well, that was a sarcastic nice for all the listeners out there. Members of the National Socialist Movement caused outrage at the event, meant to celebrate gay pride. I am so angry at the Libertarian Party of Southern New Hampshire right now. I'm not angry with them. I just think it's deceitful what they've done. They've come out condemning the straight pride parade in wherever it is, Boston?
Boston.
Yeah. And they say it's because of the organizers, and that they're not trying to suck the proverbial penis of the LGBT community, but they're talking out of one side of their mouth and saying something completely different out of the other side of their mouth. They did not simply say, oh, this event is being organized by idiots, trolls, and it should be condemned. At the same time, they're like, no, we reject straight pride, and we think that LGBTQ people are, how did they phrase it? Parading in protest or something like that.
What? I haven't heard much of this drama.
Well, I don't know if it's really drama. I tried to make it into drama. I tried to get the person who was secretary for this particular thing, for this particular meeting of the Libertarian Party of Southern New Hampshire to come onto the show. I noticed, however, that he never actually addressed any of the points that I brought up to him, and then he conveniently stopped responding altogether.
Did he block you?
Not as far as I'm aware. I mean, he might have. I don't really care whether or not he did. He's wrong. The Libertarian Party of Southern New Hampshire was wrong to do this, because I don't think the Libertarian Party of whatever level should weigh in on the question of a person's sexuality, whether straight, homosexual, transgender, whatever. I just don't think that they should take a side in that particular dispute.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so either.
But they did. They came out in support of LGBTQ pride and came out against straight pride. So here it is, the Southern New Hampshire Libertarian Party saying that the executive committee passed the following resolution tonight. This was from June the 7th. Whereas the National Libertarian Party platform affirms our opposition to state-sanctioned marginalization of individuals based on sexuality and gender identity, and has actively supported and participated in the social movement for equality since its founding. Basically, a long way of them saying, hey, look, we like LGBT people too. We were here first. Whereas the United States government...
They were there first, but that doesn't mean you got to be silly 50 years or 40 years, whatever it is later.
Whereas the United States government has historically denied protections of equality to gender and sexual minorities, leading to discrimination in legal proceedings, including but not limited to such issues as marriage, child custody, adoption, immigration, and military service laws. They actually said or, but I think and would actually be more appropriate. But I like that they refer to it as GSM. That is a term that I prefer over LGBTQIAAP+. For obvious reasons. I actually prefer EBSP, everyone but straight people, because I think it's more honest. I mean, that's what they mean. If you're straight, you're not allowed to characterize yourself as straight. You're allowed to be an ally. That's what one of the A's in that alphabet soup stands for. But if you're not an ally, you're not...
I thought the A was asexual.
There are two A's. LGBTQIAAP+. Yeah. Yeah, it's a mess. So there are two A's. One of those stands for ally. If you are straight, you're allowed to be an ally. Your sexual orientation is no longer determined by your actual sexual orientation and the fact that you're heterosexual. No, the letter you get is dependent upon your relationship to the LGBTQ community. And of course, it creates a false dichotomy where if you're not an ally, you must be homophobic. So for all intents and purposes, the LGBTQIAAP+ community has eradicated straight people from the conversation. You can be an ally, but if you're not an ally, you are, by definition, since you're not an ally of the LGBTQ community, homophobic.
You're either with us or you're with the terrorists.
Well, I don't know about that, but they certainly characterize it as you're either, an ally or you're homophobic.
Yeah. It's the same thing.
And that's a problem to me. Well, I don't think homophobia is necessarily related to terrorism.
Well, you're either with us or against us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the issue with dichotomy, certainly. And the issue with this whole thing is that straight people are not able to define themselves and just go, oh, no, I'm straight. I'm an ally. Like if I don't know why that keeps happening, but if the people of Detroit, or not Detroit, the Straight Pride rally there in Boston, if they were to characterize it as an ally parade, they would get no end of support from the LGBT community. But it's not because anything has changed with them. It's simply because they're making themselves submissive to the LGBTQIAAP+ community, saying, you are the ones who get to define us and label us, not us, and not our actual sexuality. No, it's our relationship to you that matters. Moving on with this, they say, whereas Pride celebrations are not a celebration of sexuality, but rather a protest celebrating overcoming adversity and rejection of social shame and stigma resultant from government-sanctioned marginalization. And that's where they really go off the rails. We're going to get back into this. Don't go anywhere. This is The Call to Freedom.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
Hey guys, Mark Claire here, lionsofliberty.com, where we strive to advance the ideas of liberty daily. We bring you the Morning Roar. That's right, every Monday to Friday we'll have a brand new edition of the Morning Roar, where we provide a roundup of some news stories that you may not find in the mainstream media or even in your typical social media newsfeed. We find stories that relate to the ideas of liberty and provide you with our liberty perspective on them. Every Monday, we have our longest running feature, Mondays with Murray, named after the great libertarian Murray Rothbard, where we'll examine an article or an excerpt from his works and help convey his view, along with our little spin as well. We wrap it all up every Friday with Felony Friday, where our own John Odermatt goes out and takes a look at some sort of felony. There's felonies committed every day, whether it's a felony committed by the police, a politician, or even an average citizen. You can find all of this and so much more over at lionsofliberty.com, advancing the ideas of liberty daily.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
Did you know you can listen to LRN.FM via our free-to-air satellite channels? We have channels over nearly all of North America and much of Africa. All you need is an affordable receiver and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you are a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage maps and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm. sat.lrn.fm.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
Some of our live shows are streamed in HD on Twitch. Please follow and share at twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is The Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. And if you've ever wanted to have sex with prostitutes and then arrest them, or bust people for drugs and then sell the drugs on the side for a nice little bonus, or just, enjoy the power rush of being a cop without all the paperwork, then you should try the Thin Blue Line game, which you can find at thinbluelinegame.com. It's the only card game in the world that allows you to shoot someone over a broken taillight and then escape accountability with the magical phrase, "I feared for my life." Typical cop stuff. Get it now at thinbluelinegame.com. Assault and battery is not included, but you can order your copies and use the coupon code CTF, which I verified has been extended through the end of the year, and have all shipping costs waived. So go get it. That's thinbluelinegame.com. Now, we've been talking about a number of people who killed themselves around police, but that's not the only thing we're talking about, because we somehow ended up on the topic of the Southern New Hampshire Libertarian Party. And when we left off with that, we had gotten about halfway through their statement into the most bizarre stuff I've ever heard from a representative of the Libertarian Party, saying that whereas Pride celebrations are not a celebration of sexuality, they are literally celebrations of sexuality. but rather a protest celebrating overcoming adversity. I don't think those words mean what. How do you have a protest celebrating something?
I've been to it.
Are those two words not mutually exclusive when describing a single event? It's like you can celebrate something, which means you're happy about it, or you can protest it, which means you're unhappy about it.
Well, can you celebrate one thing and protest another at once?
Sorry, Melanie, I keep missing 3. What was your question?
You can protest a celebration, I guess. That would be, I would think like...
Well, that's what straight pride is.
Yeah, that would be more of a description of like the Westboro Church is pride-related events.
They certainly do that. But I don't think you can protest and celebrate simultaneously. I don't think the same person can undergo celebration and protest at the same time. And apparently the Libertarian Party of Southern New Hampshire would disagree with that statement.
They can try.
Yeah. Do you have to be schizophrenic to celebrate protest? Or to protest... To protest celebrating...
I mean, that sounds like a description of Westboro because they're protesting, celebrating.
That is how they characterized it here. They are protesting, celebrating.
Okay, this thing is obviously very badly worded. I think I have some idea what they're getting at, because pride, like you said, it is a celebration of sexuality, specifically GSM.
Yeah, but they specifically said it's not that.
Yeah, that's why I say it's very badly worded, because it is that, but it's also like we discussed a few weeks ago. It's also a protest in protest of oppression of GSM.
I don't agree that it's a protest of anything.
Well, that's how it started.
I think that's how it started, sure, but things change. The United States started as a constitutional republic. So it may have once been about protesting oppression and things like that, but now it's about celebration and using the suffering of others to amass political power to cause oppression for other people.
I mean, do you think that maybe depends on where you are? Like in Boston, I'm not sure how much oppression there is of gay people. In some cities in the South, that might be an issue. In some places in the world, that might be a bigger issue.
Well, I can attest that I fought against discrimination and hostility in the state of Mississippi. I do not go to pride parades. I will not allow these people to take my suffering and use it as an excuse to take political power over non-GSM people. And that's what it ultimately comes down to, in my opinion.
But yeah, as far as it being a protest, have you not heard this thing that's been going around this year that no cops at Pride?
That's been going around for as long as I've been on the internet.
That still doesn't make it a protest.
It is in part, I think.
I mean, they are celebrations. They look like dance parties.
I've been to Pride in San Francisco. I know what it is.
Well, how can you characterize that as a protest?
It's very gay.
Yeah, but that's just a celebration of gayness.
It's a very gay protest.
I don't think there's any protest to it whatsoever.
I've seen people protest in a very gay manner, and it does not look like what I have seen from pride parades, but at the same time, I've always kind of wondered...
It's a parade. How can it be a parade, a celebratory function?
That would be weird, because it would be weird to have like a cop block parade.
Right. The whole thing is weird. To call these protests of anything, I think, is just extremely disingenuous. It gives the LGBT community far more credit than they deserve on this note. I think they're just celebrating and just gaying it up in the streets, and I'm okay with that. I don't care. But don't call it a protest, because you're not protesting anything. If anything, you're protesting the existence of straight people. And I'm not on board with that. They go on to say that whereas straight pride is a movement that exists in opposition to the celebration of pride by the GSM community and a protest against their achievements of progress and equality through mockery and parody. But remember, they're not trying to suck the proverbial Richard of the LGBTQ community. Therefore, be it resolved that the Southern New Hampshire Libertarian Party stands in opposition to the hateful message and rhetoric that surrounds the organization of the Boston Straight Pride Parade and condemns involvement and participation in its activities. Now, let's take careful note here how none, exactly zero, of the points that they raised previously had anything at all to do with the Boston Straight Pride Parade.
That's true.
Well, the guy who was secretary for this particular meeting of the Southern Libertarian Party of New Hampshire, Southern New Hampshire, whatever the freak it's called, says this resolution dealt with a specific event with specific organizers. While I did not have a vote, I was present at the meeting where it was discussed and was acting as secretary. I understand the purpose of this resolution. It is not to disparage heterosexuals. It is not to suck the proverbial Richard of homosexuals. It was merely to express opposition to a distasteful event with rude, arrogant, and ignorant organizers. So he makes it 100% about the Boston Straight Pride Parade and that particular event. Not straight pride in general, not straight people in general, this one specific event.
Right.
Even as the resolution, which we just read you word for word, is targeting straight pride entirely, absolutely sucking the proverbial penis of the LGBTQ community. He's going as far as to say that they are protesting celebration, or they are protesting and celebrating somehow, magically. So I pointed out to him that calling LGBTQ pride parades protests is disingenuous. That would be my first objection. Would you like to come on the Call to Freedom to discuss my objections and your take on this resolution? Of course, that never got a response. That's unfortunately. Because he could be on right now trying to explain through some sort of lawyer-style legalese how he's totally not condemning straight pride. So I said, it's also interesting to note that straight pride is condemned because it merely stands opposed to LGBTQ pride. The LP does not oppose the Satanic Church, right? Because Satanism, of course, of whichever variety, merely stands opposed to Christianity. So if you're going to condemn one of those simply because it defines itself as opposition, then you have to also condemn Satanism. So he said more or less the same thing that Michael said. As I'm sure you're aware, pride parades as we know them today began not as parades, but as marches and protest events against laws which criminalize homosexuality or homosexual acts. Yes, again, but how it began. I began as a straight cis dude in Mississippi. I am not a straight cis dude in Mississippi today. So I think this is how it began thing is really, I don't want to say disingenuous again, but it's misleading to focus on that. So the SNHLP sought to mainly rebuke the organizers of the Straight Pride event because their intention is literally just to troll and get attention and reactions from leftists, none of which was mentioned in the resolution. They didn't say, whereas the organizers of this event are simply trying to get reactions from leftists. They didn't say anything along those lines.
Yeah, nobody would pay attention to it if they did.
And a couple of the organizers are members of the LPMA state committee. In our opinion, the troll is crappy and tasteless. We do not want it to appear as if local libertarian affiliates support or are associated with this sort of stuff.
So does the LP come out officially denouncing every troll? Like,
No,
if
certainly
that's the
not.
standard, do they like, okay, well, here's the 50 things on my feed today I'd like to make a declaration about?
So I pointed out that the point of modern LGBTQ pride events is to amass and wield political power, but I see the Libertarian Party of Southern New Hampshire conveniently ignores that, because that's what it all is about, political power. Don't go anywhere, there's a bit more about this whole straight pride, gay pride thing.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
More of the Call to Freedom is coming up next, live after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for Liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. Online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow with your latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Gold is trading at $1,341, silver at $15, and Bitcoin is trading around $8,041. Today's prices are brought to you by InnoScale. Take off with Managed Cloud. Looking for a safe, secure way to store your important files online? Let InnoScale handle it for you. Their high-availability cloud servers are the perfect solution for clients needing one or more secure, scalable servers with built-in hardware failover protection. For details, see them online at InnoScale.net. In the news, the Federal Government Accountability Office has issued an update to its 2016 report on the FBI's use of facial recognition. The takeaway, which they also shared during a Congressional House Oversight Committee hearing, the FBI now has access to 641 million photos, including driver's license and ID photos, but it still refuses to assess the accuracy of its systems. Activist Post reports that the FBI's Facial Analysis Comparison and Evaluation Services Unit not only has access to FBI's Next Generation Identification Face Recognition database of nearly 30 million civil and criminal mugshot photos, it also has access to the State Department's visa and passport databases. The FBI has done little in the last 3 years to make sure that its search results are accurate, according to the new report. The Liberty Beat is sponsored in part by Brave Botanicals. High-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven and believes so strongly in the power of kratom, they're giving it away for free. Just go to freeounceofkratom.com for a free ounce of kratom delivered to your door. Just pay shipping. That's freeounceofkratom.com. This is the latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Find us online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. Your news now continues. Metropolitan Police in London have arrested 4 teenagers involved in a reprehensible attack on 2 women who were left bloodied and hospitalized after being taunted for their sexuality. The Mind Unleashed reports the 4 males, aged 15 and 18, are being questioned on suspicion of robbery and aggravated grievous bodily harm or severe assault. That's according to a statement by the Met Police. Melanie Gaymanet, a 28-year-old Ryanair stewardess from Uruguay, shared a photo on Facebook of herself and her girlfriend Chris after they were assaulted by a group of men who began shouting at them and throwing coins. The couple had just gone on a date in Camden and were returning home early on May 30th when the 4 men began demanding they kiss each other in front of them. When the 2 refused to share an intimate moment for the entertainment of the hooligans, the young men and teens beat them, leaving them with serious facial injuries before also stealing their belongings. Hate crimes on the mass transportation network of the UK have doubled over the past 5 years, according to British Transport Police data. In what would be the first case of its kind, a Louisiana woman allegedly died from a THC overdose after vaping a large amount of cannabis oil. The Mind Unleashed, citing the New Orleans Advocate, reports that the otherwise healthy 39-year-old collapsed and died in her LaPlace apartment in February due to high levels of THC, the main psychoactive compound in cannabis. That's according to St. John Baptist Parish Coroner Christy Montague. The woman had healthy organs and no symptoms of illness or elevated traces of alcohol and drugs in her body. While THC can cause heart palpitations and extreme anxiety in some users, the federally funded National Institute of Drug Abuse has said that no recorded deaths have been attributable to marijuana overdose. Various experts have also cast doubt on the coroner's claims, describing his conclusion as highly unlikely. A former senior policy advisor at the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy noted that if such overdoses were possible, the growing amounts of cannabis consumption in the U.S. would have likewise risen. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from the Conscious Resistance Network, featuring videos, news reports, and articles from a spiritual anarchist perspective. Experience the Conscious Resistance at theconsciousresistance.com. How would you like to have your business featured on the Liberty Beat? You can. Just send an email to libertybeat@snls.news for details. This is the Liberty Beat, produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. The Liberty Beat is online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the Liberty Beat, reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
It seems like we're constantly hearing different fitness advice. Exercise 2 to 3 times a week for at least 30 minutes a day. And don't forget cardio. But don't exercise too much or you'll get hurt. So, how much exercise should you be getting? Well, actually not that much, since the human body is only built to withstand walking a short distance before lying or sitting down again. In fact, a group of biologists from Stanford found that walking more than 5 feet at a time can cause joint pain, fatigue, and even extreme hunger. The study concluded that the maximum effort the human body can safely endure is reaching for an item high on a shelf. Our bodies simply aren't built to stand up and move around. So maybe those high-intensity spin classes and daily jogs aren't such a good idea. Instead of walking up the stairs every day, try taking the elevator whenever possible. You can even use a fitness tracker to let you know when you've been exerting too much energy. Your body will appreciate it. For The Onion, I'm Jill Hooper.
This is the Onion News Network.
Welcome back. As always, I'm your host, Arya DeMetzo, composer of the music that you're listening to right now. You can find it on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/Arya DeMetzo. Joined in the studio today by
Melanie
and Michael Hampton from CryptoTip.org.
And all of the other BS aside, I don't really want to talk about that anymore. Something just was brought to my attention. I want to look into it because I don't know anything about it. But evidently, there is an event in LGBTQ history called the Upstairs Lounge, and it was the largest LGBT massacre in American history, evidently.
Still is.
Well, yeah, I suppose so. I mean...
At least it wasn't until the Pulse shooting.
Yeah, the Pulse shooting made it the second. On the 24th of June in 1973, for New Orleans gay community, it was the last day of National Pride Weekend. Wow, it's a whole month now. Anyway, as well as the 4th anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising. You couldn't really have an open celebration of these events. In 73, anti-gay slurs, discrimination, and even violence were still as common as sin. Really, really friendly atheist. But the revelers had few concerns. They had their own gathering spots in the sweltering city, places where people tended to leave them be, including a second-floor bar on the corner of... Will you get to what actually happened? That Sunday, dozens of members of the Metropolitan Community Church, the nation's first gay church, founded in Los Angeles in '69, got together there for drinks and conversation. It seems to have been an amiable group. The atmosphere was welcoming enough that 2 gay brothers brought their mom and proudly introduced her to the other people. Beer flowed and laughter filled the room. But just before 8:00 p.m., the doorbell rang insistently. To answer it, you had to unlock a steel door that opened into a flight of stairs leading down to the ground floor. Bartender Buddy Rasmussen, expecting a taxi driver, asked his friend Boggs to let the man in. Perhaps Boggs, after he pulled the door open, had just enough time to smell the Roncinol lighter fluid that the attacker of the upstairs lounge had sprayed on the steps. In the next instant, He found himself in unimaginable pain as the fireball exploded, pushed upward and into the bar. The ensuing 15 minutes were the most horrific day that any of the 65 or so customers had ever endured, full of flames, smoke, panic, breaking glass, and screams. The assistant pastor of the church, George Mitchell, escaped, but soon returned to try to find his boyfriend, Louis Broussard. Both died in the fire, their bodies clinging together in death, like a scene from the aftermath of Pompeii. Tragic story. Metal bars on the upstairs lounge windows meant to keep people from falling out were just 14 inches apart. While some managed to squeeze through and jump, others got stuck. That's how the pastor died, screaming, "Oh God, no," as the flames charred his flesh. When police and firefighters surveyed and began clearing the scene, they left Larson fused to the window frame until the next morning. The news photo is among the most disgusting I've ever seen.
It's pretty horrible.
Yeah. 32 people lost their lives that Sunday 40 years ago. Homophobia being what it was, several families declined to claim the bodies, and one church after another refused to bury or memorialize the dead. I mean, this is a good reason that we don't have bars on windows today, and why we have fire escapes and things like that. Luckily, I would have been, small enough to fit through these bars, but I'm sort of little. Most people would not have been. That sucks, but the bars shouldn't have been there in the first place. If you don't want people falling out of the window, close the window.
There you go.
Problem solved, and then people can still get out in the event of a fire. That's exceptionally bad planning on behalf of the owners of the bar. Not to shift the blame, but that's ridiculous. Did they never envision the contingency that, the bar filled with alcohol might catch on fire? But when the Reverend William Richardson of the St. George's Episcopal Church agreed to hold a small prayer service for the victims, about 80 people attended, but many more complained about Richardson to some other guy. Nolan reportedly, none of this is really relevant to anything. Why? What is the point of this article? He doesn't seem to have one. The upstairs lounge arson was the deadliest fire, except, I guess, to make people aware of it, but he could have done that with a link to the Wikipedia article about it. It was the deadliest fire in New Orleans history and the largest massacre of gay people ever in the United States. Yet it didn't have much of an impact in the news. The few respectable news organizations that deigned to cover the tragedy made little of the fact that majority of the victims had been gay, while talk radio hosts tended to take a jocular or sneering tone. What do we do? What do we bury them in? Fruit jars, joked one on the air only a day after the massacre. Fruit jars?
That's bad.
I don't even get it. Oh, a fruit cake reference? Fruity?
No.
Yeah.
It's not common anymore, but gay men used to be called fruits or fruity.
Okay. Well, they're getting, coverage from talk radio hosts today, only 40 years late, but, it happens. Other smaller disasters resulted in City Hall press conferences or statements of condolence from the governor, but no civil authorities publicly spoke out about the fire other than to mumble about needed improvements to the city's fire code, like not having bars on the windows of second-story buildings, or even first-story buildings, I would suggest. Continuing this pattern of neglect, the New Orleans Police Department appeared lackluster about the investigation. The officers involved denied it. Oh, hold on. Is he saying that officers were involved in the arson and the murder? Okay, the detectives...
The officers involved in the investigation denied that they were in the investigation.
Yeah, the detectives wouldn't even acknowledge that it was an arson case, saying the cause of the fire was of undetermined origin. No one was ever charged with the crime, though an itinerant troublemaker with known mental problems, Rogder Del Nunez, is said to have claimed responsibility multiple times. He committed suicide in 1974, and he was a sometimes visitor to the upstairs lounge. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if someone with mental issues who was gay decided to kill other gay people and ultimately killed himself a few years later. Tragic story.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was just a guy who hated gay people.
I wouldn't be surprised by that either. But I mean, it's not a common thing today. I mean, sure, when something like this happens, you need to protest. And I don't know exactly what you would be protesting in this particular case. What would you actually protest? The police not investigating it?
Yeah, that's a good thing to protest. The police not doing their, well, like we know they have no duty to do anything, but they're kind of supposed to.
And so the discussions that I've had with people about, not this specifically, but things like this, if there's just a regular crime where it's kind of a given that if you get caught, you're going to jail, there's kind of no reason to protest anything. Because it's like, okay, well, you could protest cops being lazy in general,
right?
But if they get caught, they're going to get arrested, and if they get convicted, they're going to go to jail. It's not like, oh, are they going to get convicted? Like, are they going to go to jail if they get convicted for these, however many murders? Or are they just going to get like 3 months probation? So there's really nothing to protest.
Good
Whereas
point.
if it's a question of, well, if they catch them, are they going to get arrested for killing all these people? Like, if they do get convicted, are they going to get probation? Like, if that's a question, then it makes sense to protest it. And I wasn't around back then, but not necessarily in New Orleans, but when I was around outside of New Orleans, it would have made sense to protest.
Yeah, because it would have been likely, especially in the 60s in New Orleans, for even if the cops had found the arsonist, the murderer, to not have actually done anything to him.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that New Orleans was always okay on that realm. I'm just saying, since I've been alive, which was well after that, I would imagine that New Orleans was worse on that issue previously.
Absolutely. That's true of most of the Deep South, I would imagine. This is the Call to Freedom. Don't go anywhere. There's more to discuss, and we're going to get into it here in just a moment.
What do you shop for that you could otherwise buy at Amazon? Pretty much everything, right? Amazon has competitive pricing and they deliver, and that's a big plus. If you could plan ahead in your shopping, would you be interested in saving up to 33%? There's a catch. You have to do your shopping in Bitcoin. But imagine those savings. It's like a huge raise. All you have to do is go to SaveItPurse.com. We've saved thousands, and you can too. Plan ahead and save. SaveItPurse.com.
When you're coping with bad news and the news media come calling, and they will, don't clam up. As notorious political figures find out the hard way, the cover-up can be worse than the crime. So get out in front of unfavorable news about your company, your group, or organization, or yourself. The sooner you confront a negative story, the sooner it will be over. Responding as quickly to negative stories as you do to positive ones enhances your credibility. Hiding embarrassing information or lying will do more damage than damage control. Never stonewall. Tell your side of the story, use specifics, and detail what corrective action has already been taken. Respond in kind. If the issue is emotional, don't sound like a cold, unemotional Mr. Spock. For more tips on critical communication skills for the way things are now, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm. Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Would you like to hang out with Penn Jillette? He's keynoting Freedom Fest this year. I, for one, am thrilled. Freedom Fest is the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world. They take a Big Ten approach with libertarians, conservatives, liberals, anarchists, and just open-minded people mingling together to hear real debates, share real solutions, and converse freely. This year's theme is the Wild West, a time of liberty and opportunity, or a time of anarchy and violence. Maybe both. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and get your tickets now. freedomfest.com/FTL. Not convinced yet? Hey, I understand. It's a high-end event, even with coupon code FTLEB. Sure, you're likely to receive investment advice that'll make that sum seem paltry, but I have something special for you. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and you'll get the 5 best speeches from last year for free. Call it a test drive. Do yourself a favor and go to freedomfest.com/FTL. freedomfest.com/FTL. Use coupon code FTLEB for a discount.
Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. And as always, we invite you to give us a call at 603-283-6160, or you can use the Discord call-in lines, which you can find at discord.lrn.fm. Now, it is Pride Month, and I'm already sick of the discussions that are just constantly in my social media feeds. But I found this one that I just couldn't resist just now. It's not actually a discussion. It's Matthew Shepard was beaten and left for dead, tied to a fence in Wyoming. The only part of his face not covered in blood, was 2 white lines running down his cheeks from where his tears ran dry. His death ignited our final fight for equality, which I will fight for vigorously until the day that I die. You don't have to be gay to be a supporter. You just have to be human. Hashtag Why Pride Matters. Now, never having heard of this kid, I looked up to him. I looked into him, and I will say, first of all, that their description of the event is hyperbolic in the least. That there is no reason whatsoever to believe that his face was covered in blood, except for the tears of his cheeks, down his cheeks. That's completely fabricated, evidently. So I went to, I Googled it and found myself on wyominghistory.org. And it's a pretty screwed up story. Apparently, 2 guys went to this social gathering where there were a number of LGBT people and pretended to be gay or bi-curious or just whatever. Mm-hmm. And they lured him away. And then they said, oh, we're not actually gay and we're going to rob you. And then they pistol whipped him like 21 times, tied him to a fence, and left him unconscious. Unconscious. So he was not like crying the blood off of his face. So I mean, let's not make things up, right? This is a tragic story and it's terrible, but you don't have to make it up in order to make it worse than it actually is. The 2 guys then ended up in a street fight for some reason with some other people, and they did ultimately confess to having beaten him to death. Its story ended with Shepard remaining tied to the fence, most likely still unconscious, for about 18 hours until a passing mountain biker fell from his bike. He noticed what he thought might be a scarecrow slumped along the fence line, but which was in fact Shepard. He ran to a nearby residence to call the authorities. The sheriff's deputy, Reggie Flutie, and emergency medical technicians responded. Flutie later reported that Shepard, who was 5 feet 2 inches, God, that is short.
That's pretty short, yeah.
He looked at first to be a child, and that his face was covered in blood, except where tears had left tracks along his cheeks. I just don't believe that to be true. I did not initially read that because I only had 4 minutes to go over the story on my break, but unconscious people don't generally cry. And if he was unconscious for 18 hours, one would imagine that he continued to bleed during those 18 hours. And that if he was in fact bleeding so severely that it, just completely covered his face, it would have covered up the tear marks. I just find that to be a romanticized account, is what I'm getting at.
It probably is. I haven't seen pictures, and obviously I probably never will.
No, and I don't find the romanticization of these sorts of things, or the, I guess that's the most accurate word to use, but I'm talking about using all of this flowery language to make things appear to be worse than they actually are. Don't know if it's true or not, but I would have a really hard time believing it if he was actually there for 18 hours, unconscious and bleeding.
Let's told the story pretty well, though.
Yeah, but that's not the most important thing, in my opinion. The more important thing would be truth and what actually happened. He was admitted to an ICU. The police investigation continued, and 4 people were ultimately arrested. The 2 guys who did it and their girlfriends who fabricated evidence and alibis and other stuff. So Shepard lingered in a coma for about 4 days while his parents were notified of his condition and began an arduous journey to Fort Collins from Saudi Arabia, where Dennis was employed as a safety specialist by some Saudi company. During their 36 hours of preparation and travel, the story of the attack spread from local to regional to national media, underscored by the reports from several of Shepard's friends that he was gay and their fears that he had fallen victim to an anti-gay hate crime. The Shepards were baffled to see front-page headlines on newspapers at the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport during transit.
Wow.
Yeah, that's got to be rough. By the time the Shepards reached the valley, the case was the subject of national broadcast coverage. A vigil of media and well-wishers who had formed in front of the hospital, and President Bill Clinton had sent his best wishes to Matthew's parents. Now, this was 25-ish years after the upstairs lounge that we just talked about, but the differences are staggering. It
was, 92, I think?
I don't know, 25-ish years is sufficient, in my opinion. I mean, it's about right. The things changed drastically from the police essentially ignoring it to the police actually investigating it making no national headlines, and even the president offering his condolences to the family. Things have certainly changed, and I think a lot of the LGBT community refuses to recognize that. Henderson's case moved forward first. In April 1999, he reached a pre-trial plea agreement, which took the death penalty off the table in exchange for 2 consecutive life sentences. Yeah, well, I would have just taken the death penalty, honestly. But that's just me. McKinney's case proceeded to trial a year after the attack, after his effort to mount a gay panic defense was ruled out. And again, this was 1992, and the gay panic defense was ruled out by the judge of the case. Nevada, I believe, just made the gay panic defense outright not allowed. But the counsel, prosecutor Cal Rarucha, and the Shepards agreed to a similar plea bargain for consecutive life sentences, and McKinney's agreement to not speak to the media about the case, a provision that he would repeatedly violate. Shocking. This guy who was immoral enough to beat someone to death violated his agreement.
Oh, of course.
So Wyoming legislators in 1999 considered a state-level hate crime bill that extended to anti-gay and anti-lesbian criminal motivations, but the measure failed the state house on a 30-30 tie on 2 consecutive days and has not since been seriously debated. I don't think it's also necessary. I mean, you put these 2 guys away for life, double life.
Yeah.
I don't know what else you could have done with that by calling it a legal hate crime instead of just a crime. I mean, they're in prison.
Life without parole. I mean, come on.
I don't see...
Death penalty. Where are you going with this?
I don't see any benefit whatsoever to going, oh, yes, this particular murder is a hate crime, so we need to give this person 5 life sentences, while this one was not a hate crime. It seems to me that if you murder someone, it stands to reason that you hate them. I don't think that the reason that you hate them is particularly relevant. You hate them, so you killed them. End of story. But I'm against hate crime legislation. I think it's a broken solution to something that isn't really a problem. When you make murder illegal and you enforce that law universally, then by definition, you include people who murder gay people, people who murder black people, or people who murder any other sort of group on the basis of their membership to that group. So hate crime laws are stupid and unnecessary, and they would not have helped at any point in this juncture.
Redundant.
This is the Call to Freedom. Don't go anywhere. There's more to discuss, and we're going to get into it.
Don't you hate that feeling in the pit of your stomach when the police pull you over? Most people have no idea how to handle it properly, and they promptly get fed into the municipal fee-generating meat grinder. Or maybe you recall that feeling you get when you go to the mailbox and see one or more letters from the IRS. You get a sense of impending doom, don't you? So let me ask you, if you could learn how to use the law to beat the IRS, traffic tickets, almost any courtroom scenario, collectors, credit card debt, and even mortgage debt because of fraud perpetrated against you, would that be worth knowing about? Don't laugh. Investigate. Check out the life-changing benefits of the Lighthouse Law Club at their website, lighthouselaw.club. That's lighthouselaw.club. And while you're at it, visit the Lighthouse Law Club YouTube channel. You might be in for a pleasant surprise.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Free Talk Live.
I was a pedestrian and an asinine cop backed up and hit me and knocked me down to the ground. And I said, I think we need to call the police as I'm, screaming in pain. And he said, go ahead, I'm a cop too. And he left the scene of the accident.
Oh, wow.
So when the police and the ambulance and all the paramedics arrived to take me to the hospital because I have knee damage now and need knee replacements to both knees because of his actions. And I told him, I said, I'm a registered nurse. I work drug and alcohol rehab. This guy was drunk. I could see it. I could tell by his his actions, he was drunk. And I said, I want a blood alcohol done on him. They knew who he was. They waited 6 hours to go to his home to arrest him. And of course, by then he had sobered up.
Sure. Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern. Live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. And I want to move on from the LGBTQ stuff because it really doesn't interest me significantly, other than the fact that I feel the need to push back against the general narrative that is put out there surrounding it, which is that, it's a protest of state oppression and all this other stuff, when ultimately it's all about using the suffering and the hardships of other people in order to amass and wield political power over others. That's why they say things like, oh no, I'm going to march for LGBT pride because of the upstairs lounge and things like that. You are literally appropriating the suffering of other people to use in your quest for political power.
I've always thought a lot of people aren't just marching for or protesting for equality per se, but that they want to be the oppressors.
I mean, there's no doubt. And they're not marching for anything other than celebratory purposes. I mean, these are parades, not protests. A lot of people, like the Southern New Hampshire Libertarian Party, seem to not know the difference, but there is absolutely a difference. So coming to us from The Atlantic, though, there's an article about George Orwell's 1984 and doublethink, which I find to be a fascinating topic because it is pervasive in the United States, but far more than most people think. It's not just a matter of politics. Politics is mostly just conveniently ignoring certain things. But doublethink, I think, is most prominent in religion. I mean, it essentially teaches people to use doublethink to make themselves forget other things. That's how you end up with the Christian Trinity and that kind of nonsense. It's also how you end up with Mitt Romney saying during his, I think it was 2012 presidential candidacy that, he was the CEO of Bain Capital from 1999 to 2001, but he was not the CEO of Bain Capital from 99 to 2001. And he said this.
Yeah, how does that work?
And people clapped and cheered for it. I mean, you either were, it comes back to, this is why I think the school system, ideally a private school system, should teach people the logical absolutes at the earliest possible age, because something either is or is not, and it cannot be both. So no novel of the past century has had more influence than George Orwell's 1984. I don't know if that's true, but whatever. The title, the adjectival form of the author's last name, the
Orwellian.
Yeah. The vocabulary of the all-powerful party that rules the superstate Oceania with the ideology of Ingsoc, doublethink, memory hole, unperson, thought crime, newspeak, thought police, room 101, big brother. They've all entered the English language as instantly recognizable signs of a nightmare future. Okay, they may have a point on that. It's almost impossible to talk about propaganda, surveillance, authoritarian politics, or perversions of troops without dropping a reference to 1984. This is what tires me about libertarians. They're like, a thing happens, it's 1984. Throughout the Cold War, the novel found avid underground readers behind the Iron Curtain who wondered, how did he know? It was also assigned reading for several generations of American high school students. We had to read Animal Farm, but we didn't have to read 1984. I read it of my own accord. I first encountered 1984 in 10th grade English class. It was paired with Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, whose hedonistic and pharmaceutical dystopia seemed more relevant to a California teenager than did the bleak sadism of Oceania. I think it's a little bit of both, really. We have cultivated this mindset that being smart is bad, and it starts at very early ages in schools, and it persists all across the internet, where people will proudly say things like, this comment was too long, I'm not reading it. I mean, that's a celebration of stupidity and ignorance.
They even have an abbreviation for that, too.
Yeah, TLDR.
You got it.
Neither the book nor its author stuck with me. In my 20s, I discovered Orwell's essay and nonfiction books and reread them so many times that my copies started to disintegrate. I did that in my early 20s as well, except I read them online at, I think it was georgeorwell.com.
I got ebooks.
But I didn't go back to 1984 since high school, blah, blah, blah. Dude, I really don't care about your past to get to your point. So when I recently read the novel again, I wasn't prepared for its power. You have to clear away what you think you know, all their terminology and iconography and cultural spin-offs, to grasp the original genius and lasting greatness of 1984. It is both a profound political essay and a shocking, heartbreaking work of art. And in the Trump era, it's a bestseller. Yeah, Trump certainly got a lot of people to start talking about 1984. Again, I just find all of the constant references to 1984 to be tedious.
It's getting a bit old, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's crying wolf. Essentially, it's the boy who cried wolf. If everything is 1984, then when the government actually starts mimicking the Chinese government, and we go, oh, this is straight up out of 1984, like could be copied and pasted, people aren't going to take it seriously because they've just heard that thousands of times before, and it was never that serious on any of the previous times they heard it. So the book was published in 1949 when Orwell was dying of tuberculosis, but others date its biographical sources back more than a decade. None of this matters. Will you get to your freaking point? I don't think he has one. The biographical story of 1984, the dying man's race against time to finish his novel in a remote cottage in Scotland. Dude, we do not care. Will you make your point? He doesn't have a point. I'm just going to have to accept that and close this. Finally, halfway through, what does the novel mean for us? Not Room 101 in the Ministry of Love, where Winston is interrogated and tortured until he loses everything he holds dear. We don't live under anything like a totalitarian system. I disagree wholeheartedly. I find the American government to be totalitarian. Does anyone disagree?
Yeah, it's.
I mean, I guess it's a spectrum. It could be worse, but it's not totalitarian.
There's a velvet glove over the iron fist.
One person says, by definition, a country in which you are free to read 1984 is not the country described in 1984.
Depends on how smart they are.
Yeah, I would certainly
especially if
agree.
you have welfare and public schools where you can more or less breed the people that you want as a population, it would be, if you can pull it off, to then say, oh, well, I allow this book to be sold.
Yeah.
That kind of helps you, so.
It certainly does.
You're free. You have free speech.
I don't see how the country described in 1984 is necessarily the ultimate totalitarian system. I mean, just because it's not the country described in 1984 doesn't mean the government isn't totalitarian. It just means it's not the one described in 1984.
I mean, a lot of stuff does go on in the U.S. that was outlined in that book. Not every single thing, but a lot of it does.
He says, instead, we pass our days under the nonstop surveillance of a telescreen that we bought at the Apple store. Yeah, that's like 1984, though, dude. They're just using Apple as an intermediary to facilitate it. That's the difference between fascism and direct socialism. I've said that repeatedly. I think that's still the case here. Just because you're getting your stuff from Apple and the government is then using it to spy on you doesn't mean that the government isn't using it to spy on you.
And it wasn't like Apple and Samsung or whoever got together and was like, hey, it'd be cool if we just spent a bunch of money and never got a payout and just surveilled everybody for kicks. The government came to them and was like, hey, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's not entirely, I'm not saying they don't have free will, but that's not entirely a private entity deciding to do a thing.
They go on to say that we carry such devices with us everywhere and tell everything to these devices without any coercion by the state. The Ministry of Truth is Facebook, Google, and cable news. We have met Big Brother, and he is us. An interesting take nonetheless. He goes on, and we have to get into that because I don't know whether or not I even care to dispute those assertions, but I'm going to give it some thought. Anyway, this guy has his own thoughts, and we're going to get back to it here in just a moment. This is the Call to Freedom.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way.
You can't do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me.
Well, I'm comfortable here, actually.
Whoa, Hey, who do you think you are?
Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't gonna make it.
Wait a minute.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable! Why are you running from me?
Because you scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this?
Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Oh,
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM, and I'd like to remind you that Call to Freedom is available as a podcast. You can find it at calltofreedomlive.podbean.com. If you don't like the commercials, that's how I would recommend you listen to the show, because it doesn't have them. The podcast does not have them, that is. Again, that's calltofreedomlive.podbean.com. Of course, if you're listening to the podcast, then we're not live, and you won't be able to actually call in and talk to us in regard to what you're listening to on the show. But, you know, there's no ads, so everything comes with the price, I suppose. So we've been talking about 1984 by George Orwell, and this article from The Atlantic that begins to make some pretty good points. and then loses itself, and then makes more good points and then loses itself. So, continuing on with that, Trump's election brought a rush of cautionary books with titles like On Tyranny, Fascism, A Warning, and How Fascism Works. My local bookstore set up a totalitarian-themed table and placed the new books alongside 1984. They pointed back to the 20th century. If it happened in Germany, it could happen here, and warned readers how easily democracies collapse. Now, did they include the road to serfdom? Because that would be more pertinent.
No, of course they didn't.
Well, it would be critical, because that's how fascism works. That's how totalitarianism and central planning and that kind of nonsense works. They come along and they promise you stuff, and then they don't deliver. They were alarm bells against complacency and fatalism, the politics of inevitability, in the words of Timothy Snyder, a sense that the future is just more of the present, that the laws of progress are known, and that there are no alternatives, and therefore nothing really to be done. The warnings were justified, but their emphasis on the mechanisms of earlier dictatorships drew attention away from the heart of the malignancy. Not the state, but the individual. Hold on, what?
What?
The individual person who... Okay, I don't understand. Trump, I guess. The crucial issue was not that Trump might abolish democracy, but that Americans had put him in a position to try. Unfreedom today is voluntary. It comes from the bottom up. I'm not sure I agree with most of that.
Well, that's true in most circumstances, because unless you have somebody who just seriously technologically outpowers you and does not care, you kind of need the
consent of the people.
Yeah, you need the people to go along with it. And if the population isn't going to go along with it, you're not going to be able to do that.
No, absolutely not. I mean, you might be able to for a time, but even if you overpower them, it's only a matter of time before you either wither away your constituency or they rebel and actually succeed in overthrowing you. So the consent has to be gotten from the people. I think it was Rothbard who said that about any type of government, not simply democracies and republics. Because if you don't have that, then the social pressure of these people who do not consent will ultimately destroy the regime. But we are living with a new kind of regime that didn't exist in Orwell's time. It combines hard nationalism, the diversion of frustration and cynicism into xenophobia and hatred, with soft distraction and confusion.
Yeah, I don't know that that's new.
Yeah, I don't either. A blend of Orwell and Huxley, cruelty and entertainment. Now, this is why I don't watch superhero movies. They are straight out of Huxley's Brave New World. It is the same movie being made over and over and over with only slight differences to the actual content of the movie. But they're all almost identical. They follow the same plot arcs. They have the same stuff going on. It's 100% predictable. It's mindless entertainment. That's why I don't watch them, because it's just a distraction. It's these companies releasing the same crap over and over with minimal effort in order to distract you from what's happening out there in the world. I don't know if they're conspiring in a dark room in order to do that. I don't think they are, but they might be.
They probably just want the money.
Yeah, and that's the easiest way to acquire it.
And like, people have this weird false dichotomy of, well, you could be doing something important or you can have entertainment. Like, you could do both. Like, that's allowed. Like, you can do really important things and also watch a movie sometimes.
I would absolutely agree. In fact, I have now seen the Marvel superhero movies that I just spent a minute or so, criticizing. And I have to say, although I've enjoyed the movies, they were all identical. They were. It was the same movie made 20-something times. No differences.
Thanks for clearing that up, because I've only seen like a few of them.
Well, then you've seen all of them.
Okay.
You just don't know it yet. So totalitarian propaganda unifies control over all information. Oops, sorry, skipped something. The state of mind that the party enforced through terror in 1984, where truth becomes so unstable that it ceases to exist. Well, the Nietzschean in me would point out that truth never existed. We now induce in ourselves.
Well, they did that in 1984, too. You had people running around reporting on each other and their kids and their parents and their neighbors that was heavily encouraged and implicitly relied on.
Yeah, people characterize this now as the post-truth era, where a politician can just say whatever, and it doesn't matter whether or not it's true, as long as their supporters believe it. But it's always been the post-truth era.
Yeah,
this isn't new to Trump. Do they not remember the justifications given to invade Iraq?
Yeah, Obama did it, Bush did it, Clinton did it, Bush the first did it. I mean, Reagan, you can go all the way back.
Totalitarian propaganda unifies control over all information until reality is what the party says it is. The goal of Newspeak is to impoverish language so that politically incorrect thoughts are no longer possible. That's an interesting concept, and it's always something that I've found fascinating within 1984. I'm not sure to what extent we think in words or whether or not we need to be able to express those words to convey to the idea to one another that something is wrong and it's Big Brother. But who knows? Today the problem is too much information from too many sources with a resulting plague of fragmentation and division, not excessive authority, but its disappearance, which leaves ordinary people to work out the facts for themselves at the mercy of their own prejudices and delusions, which is literally what every single human being does because we're subjective and truth isn't a real thing. There are no facts, there are only interpretations. Everything that you believe to be true, you may believe it because you have various evidence supporting it, whatever, but it's just a matter of quantifying that evidence because the people on the other side who disagree with you will also have their own evidence. And it really doesn't matter who is actually correct because you can't demonstrate which one of you is actually correct. If I say, no, I'm looking at this wall and it's red, and you're saying, no, I'm looking at it and it's blue, there's no way to prove either one of us is correct. And even someone coming in to make that determination, they cannot prove that the wall is one particular color or another because that's just the way subjective experience works. But during a 2016 presidential campaign, propagandists at a Russian troll farm used social media to disseminate a meme. The people will believe what the media tells them to believe. But Orwell never said this. The moral authority of his name was stolen and turned into a lie toward that most Orwellian end, the destruction of belief in truth. Oh, well, apparently I'm the bad guy now.
Yeah, you're the bad guy. You don't believe in truth.
No, I don't. Sorry. Truth does not list among the things that I believe in. So there I am trying to make a Big Brother-ish 1984. The Russians needed partners in this effort and found them by the millions, especially among America's non-elites. It's an interesting way of saying poor. In 1984, working class people are called proles, and Winston believes they're the only hope for the future. As Linsky pointed out, Orwell didn't foresee that the common man and woman would embrace doublethink as enthusiastically as the intellectuals, and without the need for terror or torture, would choose to believe that 2 + 2 was whatever they wanted it to be.
Yes, he did, because everybody in that book, with like 3 exceptions, bought into that throughout the entire book.
Yeah, it was just beneath the notice of the proles, because they were more fixated on living out their day-to-day lives than they were in Big Brother. Big Brother was mostly an issue for the inner party and the outer party.
You know, that's even true of normal society out here. Most people don't care about politics or who's in the White House. They just care about their normal day-to-day stuff, their work, their family life, their whatever.
I think that's generally how it should be. Because, I mean, the truth is that most of the things that Trump says and does have no bearing whatsoever on our lives. And that's, that was equally true of Obama as well. But we can't turn a blind eye to it because they are, doing egregiously immoral things. And they are professing to do it in our name and for us. And I think that's where an issue is. There's more of this article. We're going to discuss 1984, so don't go anywhere.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. Did you know we've taken our LRN.FM telephone listen line to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line? Now you can call 712-770-8447 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed. And you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 712-770-8447 and choose from the menu. 712-770-8447.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
More of the Call to Freedom is coming up next, live after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. Online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow with your latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Gold is trading at $1,328. Silver at $14.69, and Bitcoin is trading around $8,007. Today's prices are brought to you by InnoScale. Take off with Managed Cloud. Looking for a safe, secure way to store your important files online? Let InnoScale handle it for you. Their high availability cloud servers are the perfect solution for clients needing one or more secure, scalable servers with built-in hardware failover protection. For details, see them online at innoscale.net. In the news, in a move that immediately sparked concerns among antitrust advocates, weapons manufacturer Raytheon and aerospace giant United Technologies agreed Sunday to a $120 billion merger that was described as one of the largest ever combinations of two defense contractors. The anti-media reports the merger, if approved by the government and the two companies' shareholders, would create what the Washington Post described as a military-industrial behemoth, with the power to rival Lockheed Martin, the world's largest defense contractor. On Twitter, antitrust advocate Daniel Hanley said the United Technologies and Raytheon merger should be dead on arrival. In an interview on CNBC Monday, President Donald Trump, otherwise a fan of large weapons companies, also expressed concern about the proposed merger. Matt Stoller, fellow at the nonprofit Open Markets Institute, said Trump is correct to raise anti-competition concerns over the proposed merger, while expressing skepticism that the president will hold to that position. The Liberty Beat is sponsored in part by Brave Botanicals. High-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven and believes so strongly in the power of kratom, they're giving it away for free. Just go to freeounceofkratom.com for a free ounce of kratom delivered to your door. Just pay shipping. That's freeounceofkratom.com. This is the latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Find us online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. Your news now continues. A bipartisan move to block U.S. President Donald Trump from circumventing a long-standing precedent that allows lawmakers to review major weapons sales is underway. Two senators, Republican Todd Young and Democrat Chris Murphy, both of whom sit on the Foreign Relations Committee, are planning to introduce a bill designed to force a vote on current and future U.S. arms sales and other military support to Saudi Arabia. The anti-media reports the bill appears to be the first in a series of proposed resolutions announced last week that would require votes on each of the arms sales that make up the $8.1 billion weapons package to Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Jordan, which was announced by the Trump administration in May. Trump circumvented Congress by declaring a national emergency on the grounds of a security threat from Iran. He swept aside objections from U.S. lawmakers to complete the sale of arms to his Gulf allies. It instigated a tug of war over who has the final say in such matters. On May 29th, the Louisiana House unanimously voted to have the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality and the Department of Health study the effects of 5G technology on the environment and public health. The Conscious Resistance reports the Louisiana legislature passed House Resolution 145 with a vote of 103 in favor and 0 representatives voting against the measure. The bill calls for the results of the study to be submitted to the Louisiana House Committee on Natural Resources and Environment, as well as the House Committee on Health and Welfare, no later than 60 days prior to the start of the 2020 regular session of the Louisiana legislature. 5G, or fifth-generation cellular technology, is the name for the latest telecom technology upgrade. There have been a number of health and privacy concerns raised by opponents of the rapidly advancing 5G expansion. Louisiana becomes the first state to call for their own independent study of the technology. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from the Conscious Resistance Network, featuring videos, news reports, and articles from a spiritual anarchist perspective. Experience the Conscious Resistance at theconsciousresistance.com. How would you like to have your business featured on the Liberty Beat? You can. Just send an email to libertybeat@snls.news for details. This is the Liberty Beat, produced in partnership with SNLS News and listeners like you. The Liberty Beat is online at libertybeat.news and snls.news. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the Liberty Beat, reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
Later in the hour, the U.S. Postal Service announces that you can deliver the mail yourself if you think it's so easy. But first up in health news, researchers from Harvard University have found a strong link between male virility and wearing Motley Crue denim jackets. For the study, researchers paired fans of the band with a control group and found that those wearing Motley Crue attire were far more likely to knock out some chick's totally jacked boyfriend and then do it with her later that same day than those who simply wore casual clothes and probably wouldn't know what it feels like to have 2 threesomes in one night.
Men who own jackets with an image of Tommy Lee and Nikki Sixx sitting on top of a pair of breasts with nipples in the shape of pentagrams showed higher levels of sexual potency, endurance, and libido. These guys do it all the time, and sometimes even in public. They don't care.
Although the study primarily focused on men in Motley Crue jackets, researchers also found that men who listened to Nirvana had a high likelihood of staying virgins forever.
This is the Onion News Network.
Welcome back. This is The Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. I'm your host, as always, Ari Demetso of Free Talk Live tonight. If you've never listened to it, be sure to check back in an hour. Well, actually, just stay tuned throughout the next hour, because Free Talk Live begins at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And with me today, it's...
Melanie,
and Michael Hampton from BitcoinHistory.com.
And we've been talking about the 1984 by George Orwell, and this particular interpretation of it from an author at The Atlantic, saying that, we stagger under the daily load of doublethink pouring from Trump, his enablers in the inner party, his mouthpieces in the Ministry of Truth, and his fanatical supporters among the proles. Spotting doublethink in ourselves is much harder. To see what is in front of one's nose needs a constant struggle, Orwell wrote. In front of my nose, in the world of enlightened and progressive people where I live and work, a different sort of doublethink has become pervasive. Like the idea that socialism is socialism until it kills everybody and then it was never really socialism.
Yeah, that's doublethink.
It's not the claim that true is fake or that 2 + 2 make 5. Progressive doublethink, which has grown worse in reaction to the right-wing kind, creates a more insidious unreality because it operates in the name of all that is good. I would agree that the Republicans are at least not trying to pretend that it's for anyone's good, that they're, anti-immigration or anything like that. Well, actually, that is exactly what they argue. come
It's
to
for
think
their
of
own
it.
good.
Yeah,
That's what they argue.
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily for their own good, but it's for the good of the Americans who need the jobs and all of this other crap and the standard of living that the immigrants are going to destroy or whatever. So they certainly argue that theirs operates in the name of all that's good as well. But the key word among progressives, evidently, is justice, a word no one should want to live without. But today, the demand for justice forces you to accept contradictions that are the essence of doublethink, like how racism is bad and all white people are racist, or that, sexual orientation shouldn't matter, but we're going to celebrate gay pride. These are examples of doublethink that I sincerely doubt this author is actually going to get into. But for example, many on the left now share an unacknowledged but common assumption that a good work of art is made of good politics and that good politics is a matter of identity. Yeah, so he's not going to actually address the doublethink pervasive on the left. The progressive view of a book or play depends on its political stance, and its stance, even its subject matter, is scrutinized in the light of the group affiliation of the artist. Personal identity plus political position equals aesthetic value.
Yeah, this happens.
Yeah, but I don't see how that's a matter of doublethink. That's just their interpretation of art. This confusion of categories guides judgments all across the worlds of media, the arts, and education, from movie reviews to grant committees. Some people who register the assumption as doublethink might be privately troubled, but they don't say so publicly. I just don't see how this is an example of doublethink. Do either of you? I mean, saying that
it's just a stupid position. It's not self-contradictory.
Yeah, what is self-contradictory is like their position on racism and LGBT crap. That's all contradictory.
We're not going to get into that because he's not really going to challenge his doublethink.
He clearly isn't. Orthodoxy is also enforced by social pressure, nowhere more intensely than on Twitter, when the specter of being shamed or canceled produces conformity as much as the prospect of adding to your tribe of followers does. Well, I don't know. If I'm going to say something extremely anti-progressive, I'm going to make sure it also goes on Twitter. But I don't particularly care if people attack me. In fact, it just reinforces my position. So I don't know what to say to that. But this pressure can be more powerful than a party or state because it speaks in the name of the people and in the language of moral outrage, against which there is, in a way, no defense. There is a defense. It's to say, I don't care what you think. Certain commissars with large followings patrol the precincts of social media and punish thought criminals, but most progressives assent without difficulty to the stifling consensus of the moment and the intolerance it breeds, not out of fear, but because they want to be counted on the side of justice. But there's doublethink right there. Is it out of fear because you just talked a lot about how people, subscribe to ideologies because they're afraid of the resultant social pressure if they don't, and then you immediately ascribe it to them just wanting to be on the side of justice?
Yeah, it's starting to sound like doublethink to me.
The willing constriction of intellectual freedom will do lasting damage. It corrupts the ability to think clearly, and it undermines both culture and progress. Good art doesn't come from wokeness. What is this obsession with this one aspect of human society? And social problems starved of debate can't find real solutions. Nothing is gained by teaching a parrot a new word, Orwell wrote in 46. What is needed is the right to print what one believes to be true without having to fear bullying or blackmail from any side. Let's back up, and because Orwell was clearly a little bit of a Nietzschean himself by pointing out that, what one believes to be true, not writing one needs the right to print what is true, but what one believes to be true. Not much has changed since the 1940s. The will to power still passes through hatred on the right and virtue on the left. Will to power is a very Nietzschean phrase as well. I want to contact this guy. 1984 will always be an essential book, regardless of changes in ideologies, for its portrayal of one single person struggling to hold on to what is real and valuable. Sanity is not statistical. Winston thinks one night as he slips off to sleep. except it is in every sense. What we define as insane is that which is unusual for, the average person. So it's absolutely statistical. You may not agree with the majority's assessment, but that's ultimately what defines an insane behavior or a mental illness or whatever. It's that, it's affecting only a minority of people. And society has come together and said this is the way a brain should work, how a person should act. And if you don't act this way, you're insane. So it's definitely statistical. Truth, that turns out, is the most fragile thing in the world. The central drama of politics is the one inside your skull. Now, I think he could have made a lot of really good points here if he wasn't a coward and if he had actually faced his own doublethink, or the doublethink on the left, because we know it exists on the right. And I don't think anyone really disputes that. Or at least the people on the right may, but the people on the left recognize that doublethink is pervasive on the right. And, to be fair, the right recognizes that doublethink is pervasive on the left. The right knows that this whole "it wasn't real socialism" thing is an example of doublethink.
It tends to just be it seems to just be a quality of humans, which kind of astounds me, but at the same time, I have no guarantee that I don't do it and don't notice it.
Oh, absolutely. Because, it does seem to be common among humans because it going all the way back to, the earliest days of organized religion, we can see the doublethink playing out there. And that's going back thousands of years. So it's evolved a bit, but it persists today. And I imagine that it will persist as long as humans exist. I would like to think that, teaching and understanding the logical absolutes would probably obliterate doublethink from human existence, but I'm not hopeful and idealistic enough to believe that is actually going to be the case.
Yeah, I don't see tribalism going away anytime soon.
Well, the tribalism doesn't have to go away.
Yeah, you could just outright admit, like, hey, I'm doing this tribalism thing because it benefits me, and I'm not going to make a moral justification for it.
Yeah. That would be honest. I don't think... Yeah, certainly. This is the Call to Freedom. Don't go anywhere. There's more to talk about, like the Vatican. It's doing more crazy stuff. That seems to be what the Catholic Church does. Don't go anywhere. This is the Call to Freedom.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with AgristHosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to AgristHosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's AgristHosting.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Did you know you can legally exit the U.S. federal income tax system? Well, it's true, and thousands of American nationals are doing it. The 16th Amendment and the Internal Revenue Code are legal, but only in a limited jurisdiction. This is the basis behind the voluntary nature of the income tax. Learn the exit strategy provided by Congress. Find out more by visiting weissparis.com and watch our numerous videos. That's WEISS Paris.com.
Did you know you can listen to LRN.FM via our free-to-air satellite channels? We have channels over nearly all of North America and much of Africa. All you need is an affordable receiver and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you are a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage maps and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm. sat.lrn.fm.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. And as always, you're invited to give us a call at 603-283-6160. Again, that's 603-283-6160. Or you can use the Discord call-in lines, which you can find at discord.lrn.fm. Now, the Vatican is the Vatican. I'm not a fan, but they do stupid stuff, and it provides interesting conversation. So they've issued a guidance questioning modern gender identity.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, but before I get into that, in honor of Pride Month, some chick in Poland, a civil rights activist, put up images of the Virgin Mary with a rainbow halo. And she says that she did it to protest what she calls the exclusion of LGBT people from society by the country's Catholic Church. The images were placed around the city of Plock in the month of May by Podlesna, in reaction to an Easter display there featuring slogans about crimes or sins, and listed among the sins were gender and LGBT. So gender is a sin, evidently. This is something that is unbelievable for me in the 21st century in the center of Europe, she told the BBC.
You know what's also a sin? Having sex with little boys.
Yeah, but I mean, they know that. Sexual orientation is not a sin or a crime, and the Holy Mother would protect such people from the church and from priests who think it is okay to condemn others. Well, biblically speaking, the only part of having sex with little boys that is actually a sin would be the homosexuality of it. This is why I'm not a fan of the Bible, incidentally. But so the image she chose was Our Lady, I don't know, some kind of Czechoslovakian word. So she works, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So she did this little thing of the Virgin Mary with a rainbow halo, and she put them around the city. Then police officers woke her up shortly after 6 in the morning and searched her Warsaw apartment, confiscating laptops, a mobile phone, pen drives, and even a stack of old floppy disks.
Okay, that's odd.
She was then taken to Plock for questioning and was charged with offending religious feelings, a crime in Poland punishable by up to 2 years in prison.
Oh, my.
In a tweet, Poland's interior minister applauded the police's action, writing that All that nonsense about freedom and tolerance does not give anyone the right to insult the feelings of the faithful. All that nonsense about freedom.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the end of that. That's all I really wanted to get into was apparently offending religious sensibilities is illegal in Poland. I'm not surprised. I'm aware that it's...
who's getting persecuted there?
I know it's illegal in... Well, she is. The LGBT community, certainly. If it's illegal to offend religious sensibilities with, I would argue corrupting their idol, probably not the best way to go about expressing your alliance with the LGBT community, but whatever. It's also illegal in Indonesia, I think is the country I'm thinking of. Is it Indonesia? It's not Indonesia. I can't think of it, but Amos Yee is from there. And Singapore. I don't know why I couldn't think of it. Offending the religious sensibilities of people is illegal in Singapore. He may still be in prison. I don't know. I never followed him. We sort of lost touch. But so the Vatican has released a new document challenging modern conceptions of gender identity. The 31-page guidance released today is titled Male and Female, He Created Them.
That whole document could have been 2 sentences.
What 2 sentences do you have in mind?
Because their position is basically going to be, you're born with these parts, what gender you are.
Yeah.
It's not that nuanced. Their position isn't that nuanced.
No, it certainly isn't. It speaks of an educational crisis and says the current debate can annihilate the concept of nature and destabilize the family institution. The document, released during Pride Month, has drawn immediate criticism from LGBT groups. It was issued by the Congregation for Catholic Education as teaching instruction to those who work with children. It's not signed by Pope Francis himself, but it quotes him and scripture within its reasoning. Now, I don't see this as being anything worth getting worked up about, certainly not to go out there and criticize it. So the Catholic Church did what you would expect the Catholic Church to do.
Yeah, it's not unexpected that the Catholic Church would come out with this position.
I mean, I wouldn't ask Burger King their perspective on McDonald's either. I would expect people who disagree with me to, release statements that disagreed with me. And since I disagree with them, I really don't care what their opinion on it is. The document calls for dialogue, but issues guidance on a number of topics, including the transgender community. Or more likely what they mean, the transsexual community, because they don't know the difference. Nobody seems to know the difference. Notably, it criticizes the modern understanding of gender as being more complex than the binary division of sexes. It says current theories move away from nature and instead towards an absolute option for the decision of the feelings of the human subject. I didn't understand that. I would have to read the whole thing to parse that. It also says that movable sexual identities are often founded on nothing more than a confused concept of freedom in the realm of feelings and wants. I don't see the problem with that.
Yeah, where's the problem here?
If they have a concept of freedom and some particular, if perhaps fleeting, feeling or want, I don't see a particular issue with them pursuing that. Maybe it is founded on nothing more than a moment of lust. That really isn't my business.
It's not the issue either.
No, of course it came at a questionable time, LGBT Pride Month. No, they did this on purpose. No, let's not pretend like they didn't.
Oh yeah, this was nothing the church does is accidental.
But there are new and crucial conversations to be had on those who... Actually, last night after work, we went to the bar like we always do on Sunday nights, and then we sat out there talking for about an hour and a half about trans people and sports. Because it's not just the bathroom facilities, prisons, women's shelters, and all of this other thing where, it becomes relevant whether or not one is trans. But the sports arena is such a mess. And I have no idea what a solution could even possibly be. You cannot allow men and women to compete in sports. You simply can't. It's not fair for the women. Sorry, it's not. And this is observable. These aggregates, these statistics exist. and what I don't want to say exist because that's not entirely right, but I mean, this is an observable phenomenon. Let's put it that way, that the average male is stronger, more capable, more athletic than the average female. Yeah. Now, this isn't to say that the female professional soccer player is not as good as your average male who plays soccer on the weekends. No, obviously she's going to be better. She's also not your average female in general. So she's not indicative of the overall abilities of women in sports or just women in general. So saying that something is true on average does not mean that it is always universally true and that you can take examples from opposite ends of the spectrum and use them as sort of a proof that the generality is wrong in the first place. But this is something I feel that we probably need to get into a little bit further because it is a messy area. Don't go anywhere. This is the Call to Freedom.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
They started with Google Glass, and now the engineers behind Google have created a new body part to strap gadgets onto. They're calling it the flange, and the new synthetic skin appendage fits between the shoulder blades into a flat surface capable of holding a wide array of new gadgets for Google to hawk to consumers. While unveiling the innovation today, Google CEO Larry Page said, quote, "The possibilities for the number of completely pointless gadgets to strap, bind, and stick to your body are now endless." Early adopters are already raving about the synthetic body part.
It overheats and burns my skin pretty bad when I have it on, but I'm really getting to like it.
I'm actually thinking of getting a second one installed.
Critics are cautioning the tech world to not hail the flange as an achievement yet, since several users have reported problems with the device permanently grafting to their spinal column if worn overnight. Coming up next, Doritos unveils new e-Doritos that come in JPEG form whenever you're hungry.
This is the Onion News Network.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
Would you like to hang out with Penn Jillette? He's keynoting Freedom Fest this year. I, for one, am thrilled. Freedom Fest is the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world. They take a Big Tent approach with libertarians, conservatives, liberals, anarchists, and just open-minded people mingling together to hear real debates, share real solutions, and converse freely. This year's theme is the Wild West, a time of liberty and opportunity, or a time of anarchy and violence. Maybe both. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and get your tickets now. Freedom freedomfest.com/FTL. Not convinced yet? Hey, I understand. It's a high-end event, even with coupon code FTLEB. Sure, you're likely to receive investment advice that'll make that sum seem paltry, but I have something special for you. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and you'll get the 5 best speeches from last year for free. Call it a test drive. Do yourself a favor and go to freedomfest.com/FTL. freedomfest.com/FTL. Use coupon code FTLEB for a discount.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
Welcome back to the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. And you know, we libertarians and anarchists, we talk a lot about providing for charity absent a state. And I found a great opportunity for people to do exactly that. Coming from Sierra Leone is the Kids Compassion Charity, currently helping villages throughout the country acquire wells, printing materials for their schools, and all kinds of other things that, you know, here we in the West take for granted. But these are real people on the ground who really live in these sort of circumstances, and this is a real charity attempting to help them. They accept cryptocurrency, PayPal, and other forms of donations, and you can contribute at kidscompassioncharity.com by clicking the donate button. Again, that's kidscompassioncharity.com. So we've been talking mostly today about LGBT crap, because that's what everybody's talking about, so might as well. So the document released by the Vatican, 31 pages, essentially says that, you know, gender and sex are the same thing, and don't let these people confuse you with their facts and nonsense about freedom. Adds that the document says that institutions should teach coherently on the true nature of human persons on the basis of clear and convincing anthropology. Well...
The Catholic Church talking about anthropology.
I don't know if anthropology is the set of science you want to use for that.
It is the set of science I want to use for it because I looked it up. Cultural anthropology, coming to us from livinganthropologically.com. Boy, that's a freaking mouthful. On sex, gender, and sexuality. It comes with a number of sources and citations. Asks, you know, what does it mean to say that gender is a social construction? Too much time has been spent on this subject. A first issue is ongoing confusion around shorthand phrases like gender is a social construct or the phrase race is a social construct. They too quickly lead to an assumption that by gender is a social construct, there is a denial of reality. There's an implication that, as one biologist put it, people generate their own truths based on their own experiences and imaginations. Well, they do.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to respond to that.
But they're not generating the truths that we might want them to generate.
Right. And that's why we have to demonize them and call them Nazis until they do generate the truth that we want them to. And if they don't, then we'll just kill them. Right?
Right.
That's the way this works. Not really. That's just the way they want it to work. But when we use shorthand phrases like gender is a social construct in courses like Introduction to Anthropology, so evidently Anthropology 101 has that phrase in it, they are no way denying that humans vary biologically in many different ways or claiming that biology is irrelevant. I'm thankful to them for pointing that out because as we were talking about with the transathlete thing that I actually forgot to get back into, the biological differences between male and female are critically important when we start talking about sports. Not trying to say, and we are not trying to say that these social effects are somehow not real or unimportant. Well, I would say they're not real. And they're important if you care about them, but if you don't care about them, then they're not important. But they're definitely not real. Society cannot experience anything. Only individual members of that society can. But they're also not saying that they are necessarily subject to extensive individual manipulation. I don't know what they mean by that, but okay. Instead, they simply indicate that many observed behavioral characteristics and life experiences are heavily influenced by social expectations, norms, and roles. But that doesn't mean they aren't real. They are quite real and can become biologically real as well.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I'm going to have to...
Wait,
I don't know about this.
Can you reassign your own gender by thinking it so then?
Well, that's not what he's saying. He's essentially arguing that something that is a gender feature, like women wearing bras, can somehow become a biological thing as well. And I mean, that's true in that, women who wear bras, their breasts are less bouncy and less firm than women who don't. So in that sense, and I sincerely doubt this is what he's talking about or anything along these lines, but in that sense, I certainly could see how this gender construct ultimately affects an individual's biology, but it's not like she's then going to go on to reproduce and these genes to cause firm breasts suddenly come into existence. It's not ultimately affecting biology, it's affecting physiology. Okay, I got it. That's how I will put it. One example of a social construct: look no further than ideas about gun control. Hold on. Pause.
Wait, gun control? That's probably the last thing I would have expected. This article just went way out into left field.
Apparently, livinganthropologically.com/gun control podcast.
What?
I don't have time to listen to this
podcast.
What just happened? Here we are reading about anthropology, social constructs, and gender, and the next thing I know, I'm looking at a podcast for gun control.
So personally, when I'm writing an article and then halfway through I decide I don't want to write that article anymore, I want to write a different article, I either start over and write the other one instead, or I hit save on that one and then hit new and then start writing the other article. I don't just put them together.
That's generally the way I would do it as well. I certainly, it's a nice bait because now I really want to listen to that podcast to find out what in the hell this person is talking about.
Yeah, I don't think we can do that right this very minute, though.
No, we certainly can't. But I mean, there are plenty of examples of social constructs. Sports, the NFL. Let's go with the NFL. The NFL is a social construct. Government is a social construct. The public education system, social construct. The idea of gun control, sure, I would agree, is a social construct, but so is anything else. I see no reason
it also
to
has
link to
nothing
that.
to do with gender.
No, it absolutely does not. So the reality of social constructs is something anthropologist Jeremy Trumbly succinctly tackled. Let's hope he actually is succinct here. We have to get past the idea that things are socially constructed are somehow not real. Well, they're not. They're called spooks, according to Max Stirner, whose book I still haven't read. But yeah, what you're essentially saying is that these things that are not real are real. They might have... I can't get into it here today. It gets way too involved. You're going to have to read my next book, Beyond Words and Labels, if you want to know the full details of exactly what I'm talking about and why he's wrong. Those things that are socially constructed are not real. They can be changed on a whim because they're constructed.
They're just little thoughts in your head.
Yeah, that's all they are. And simply by... this was in Shemale versus Nazi. I was criticized directly by Chris Cantwell saying, I think I can just invent reality in my crazy little head or whatever.
You already did.
But this is exactly what people do when they operate under this idea that a social construct is a real thing. They're arguing that what they've created in their head is reality. And I'm saying, no, it's not. No matter how much you talk about gender, it's not a real thing.
What is real?
I don't know. That's not a question I can answer.
Okay, so...
I know what isn't real.
How do you know what isn't real, then?
Well, the concepts as created by humanity cannot be real because they are simply concepts. Gender is a concept.
They're abstract, then.
Yes, they're abstract, intangible, completely without corporeal existence. So they are not real. But X is socially constructed, or X are social constructs, as if to say they are only or just social constructs, as if to say X is not real. It isn't. Race, class, gender, these are all social constructs, but it is because they are socially constructed that they have tremendous effects on the lives of people who live in a particular society.
And that's what he's conflating with real.
Yes. He's conflating the effect of a thing with its reality.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
This is a special alert for business owners, consultants, coaches, folks planning retirement, entrepreneurs, and anyone who is saving and investing to build a financial future. You are likely aware that financial privacy for most people has recently died a miserable death. And let's face it, without privacy, there really is no security, is there? Bankrupt governments and banks on the verge of collapse are perhaps the biggest threat to your financial future today. The Lighthouse Law Club recognizes this and has been working diligently to provide safe, secure, and productive tools to ensure your privacy, your financial security, and your future financial well-being, despite the catastrophes which many people fear are looming ahead of us. Find out more with a variety of free videos on the YouTube channel for Lighthouse Law Club. Just search YouTube for Lighthouse Law Club and secure your future today.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media, and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free, at apps.lrn.fm.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippie! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you gotta keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
Join the LRN.FM Discord for live chat 24/7 at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom, and maybe you listen regularly to the show and have been wondering how you can help and show your support. Well, social media shares certainly go a long way, but so does cash. And you can do that on Patreon at patreon.com/calltofreedom. Our wonderful patrons there are currently helping to keep the show up and running, including the podcast at calltofreedomlive.podbean.com. And we can't thank them enough for showing their support. Once more, that's patreon.com/calltofreedom if you would like to check it out. And at some point, probably tomorrow, since I will be off, I am going to actually upload the QR codes for the Call to Freedom's cryptocurrency wallets that now exist. Because we love cryptocurrency.
Yeah, we love crypto.
Feel free to send it to us. Speaking of which, that story about the guy who made the useless Ethereum token.
Oh, God.
Good God. This guy, right, Ethereum tokens are generally useless. It takes all of about 3 minutes to make one. Call to Freedom has its own Ethereum token called Drama Coin with the ticker symbol WAH, W-A-H. They're not hard to make. There are 500 billion Drama Coins in existence. I have all of them.
That's probably not enough.
Isn't that the same thing that CryptoKitties is? Is that just an Ethereum token, if I understand that correctly?
I believe so.
Yeah, so it's not like an actual cryptocurrency.
No, it's a token within a cryptocurrency. It's one of the reasons I don't like Ethereum is that it simply has become too easy for people to do this. Again, it just takes a few seconds. Install Parity, allow it to sync, drop 0.001% of an Ethereum on it, and voila, you have your own ERC20 token. So this other guy had the brilliant idea of making a useless Ethereum token and being 100% upfront about how it's a completely useless Ethereum token. It will never be good for anything. How he's just going to take your money and use it to buy a television and other stuff. This dude went 100% openly on his website saying these sorts of things, saying on his website, do not send me your money, made more than $500,000 from this.
That's scary. That's really scary, and it's also disappointing because I kind of wish I'd had this idea.
I have a similar idea that I really want to put into motion now. Just start the ICO and make it clear to people, look, we're not even going to bother to make a token. Not even going to bother. Here's my Ethereum address.
Yes, send us your Ethereum
and we're going to make, make-believe coin, except, making it clear on the website that we are never, ever going to actually make this token.
We're not even going to spend the 3 minutes to make the token.
And I bet we would still make a fair bit of Ethereum. I mean, it's not a terrible... If somebody is stupid enough to just give their money away like that, I'm going to get in line.
Take it. Yeah.
So, it's really shocking. I've seen a lot of ICOs. Of course, I launched cryptocurrencycheck.org, which was initially planned on being a place for people to go to learn about cryptocurrencies, not in general, but in specific, and various ICOs that were launching all around the clock. I wanted a single place that people could go to. Oh, I heard about this new cryptocurrency. Let me go check it out at cryptocurrencycheck.org and make sure it checks out. But I learned very quickly that the task was monumental and impossible for one person to do. Even if I worked 24 hours a day on it and did nothing else, I would never have caught up to the number of ICOs being launched on a given day.
Wow.
I was constantly going to be a month behind. So ultimately, I was like, this is a great idea, and I still think it's a great idea. But there's no effective way to actually do it.
Not with one person.
Well, not with multiple people, I wouldn't think. You wouldn't be able to... if you had a team of like 50, 60 people, you could do it, certainly. But I don't think...
How would you make the money?
Yeah, I don't think the idea has enough merit to it to justify raising that amount of money. It might. I could be wrong. There are similar ones out there that will, give you an idea of what kind of investment you'll get from it, what kind of profit and things like that. But that wasn't the purpose of Cryptocurrency Check. Bitcoin Silver was the whole reason I decided to do this, because Bitcoin Silver was not a fork of Bitcoin. It was an Ethereum token riding on the popularity of Bitcoin Gold in order to make itself look better. Yeah, it was completely awful. The Twitter handle for this cryptocurrency token was Bitcoin Silver 1. They couldn't even get the actual Twitter handle for it. And I have screenshots proving what I'm about to say. When you go to their website, it had their little countdown on it, like ICOs always do, saying, oh, there's 3 days left of this sell or whatever. Well, I would check back the next day, and it would still be 3 days. Mm-hmm. And I would check back the next day, and it wasn't ever actually at 3 days. It was like 17 hours or some kind of nonsense like that. But I checked it regularly, taking screenshots of it with timestamps in there in order to prove this whole farce for what it was, showing that the countdown never actually changed. And that, in fact, on some occasions, it would go up. Wow. It would be like, there's 13 hours remaining, and then you check back the next day, and it's like, there's 19 hours remaining. It's like, wait a minute, I know at least 7 hours have passed.
Yeah,
we certainly didn't move 7 hours into the past.
Yeah, and if you did, I want to know that trick.
So I did everything I could to make people aware that Bitcoin Silver was a scam. It was so obviously a scam. And they still made off with people's Ethereum. There are still people on the Bitcoin Silver Twitter page going, when am I going to get my tokens? It's been a year and a half. You're never going to get your tokens. You should have listened. I posted this crap publicly to the Bitcoin Silver Twitter. If you went there, you would have seen it. And I tweeted at them every day in order to try to keep people from buying this crappy, non-existent token. But people still did it. I mean, they were so inactive that when I publicly called them a scam, they didn't respond.
They didn't respond.
No.
Oh, yeah, they put a minimum effort into that scam.
They did, and it worked. They made at least 100 Ethereum. I don't remember the exact, assuming... Well, I mean, you can actually check it, presumably.
And a year and a half ago, Ethereum was a lot higher than it is now.
A year and a half ago. Yeah, it would have been like $400 or $500, I think.
Roughly something like that.
Yeah, at any rate, I mean, even if you only get one Ethereum from doing this.
From doing nothing, yeah, that's a pretty good rate for like $500 per 0 hours. Like that, the unit doesn't even work.
Yeah, I'll take it.
The most work they put into it was in creating the ticker, the countdown that wouldn't actually count down. And I can't imagine even that was too difficult.
Yeah, you copy and paste some stuff from Stack Overflow.
Yeah, there's plenty of places you could copy and paste countdown clocks from without even like knowing code.
Yeah.
I mean, you get a WordPress website for like $50 a year.
Yep. And bam, there you see, now we're giving... I mean,
I guess we shouldn't be telling people.
No, I think we should, because I think that's what needs to happen. I think that, we need all of these scam currencies out there in order to just completely obliterate Ethereum, which no longer has a valid purpose. Ethereum should be wiped from cryptocurrency history. Bitcoin Cash now has tokens and things of that nature, so use Bitcoin Cash instead. It's not Ethereum.
Yeah.
It doesn't require the gas thing like Ethereum does, which is how the people who participated in one particular ICO ended up spending like $142,000 on a transaction. If you mistype, or if your cat walks on your keyboard or whatever when you're hitting send, you could have just lost $140,000.
That's crazy.
Or if you simply don't know what is meant by gas and you look at it and you're like, okay, so 140,000 was in here. Well, I want to increase my chances of getting into the next block, so I'm going to make it 1,400,000, not being aware of how it scales or anything like that. Or maybe they just erase it entirely and put a 1 there and then sit there for days wondering, why isn't my Ethereum transaction being confirmed? That's the issue with ERC20 tokens. It's just a total mess, without even getting into the fact that it takes like 12 seconds to make one and sell it. And then never give people their tokens anyway. So why even bother creating the token? Just be upfront about it and be like, look, I'm not creating this token. This is an ICO, but we're not actually offering anything. But here's an Ethereum address.
Yeah. I wonder if that would be enough to like explicitly say, I'm not going to actually issue the coins. If that would be enough, not that anyone would care, to get you out of the securities rules.
Interesting. I don't know. I mean, essentially,
I have no idea, but I'm just intrigued by that for no reason.
all you're doing in that situation is asking for donations, right?
Yep, essentially.
That's my interpretation of it, but I'm not the federal government. So.
This has been the Call to Freedom. Thank you for listening, but don't go anywhere. Free Talk Live is coming up next.
Peace inside is right with
Fact.